It's so stupid, it's positively brilliant.
The Brilliant Idiots Podcast.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brilliant Idiots. I'm Andrew Schulz, and today I have with me a very special guest. This man has managed to make millions of dollars and lose all of his money, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but he is on his 5th millions. He hasn't lost it yet. I'm very excited to introduce you to him. He's got a fascinating story. But before I bring him on, guys, this episode has been brought to you by Squarespace. Turn your great idea into a reality with Squarespace. Squarespace makes it easier than ever to launch your passion project, whether you're showcasing your work or selling products of any kind. With beautiful templates and the ability to customize just about anything, you can easily make a beautiful website yourself. And if you do get stuck, Squarespace's 24/7 award-winning customer support is there to help. Head to squarespace.com/idiot for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code IDIOT to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. This show is called Brilliant Idiots. And based on the information I just gave all of you, I would like to introduce quite possibly the most brilliant idiot on the face of the universe right now.
Talk to me like
yes,
this?
Yes, she is. Charlemagne the God is not here. I was going to do an entire episode with Taylor, but I felt like I'd spare our listeners. I felt like I would protect you because I love you. No Taylor dad jokes this episode. We have James Altucher.
Yes.
Altucher, not to be confused with my high school biology teacher, James Altucher, spelled the same way.
Correct. Not
for a very small time in history, I thought my high school biology teacher had a podcast that was very popular about finance and business and how to make tons of money.
Or lose tons of money.
This
is really what my podcast is about.
This is the most fast. Listen, you have a very interesting life. We can go into it. But when you told me that you made millions, lost it all down to zero, made millions again, lost it all down to zero, this is your 5th time. How do you make millions?
Okay, well, there's lots of different ways. You find
apparently,
yes, there's at least 5 ways that I know of, maybe more. Mm-hmm. But you find, my first business. Maybe you could tell by the way I dress and carry myself. My first business, I made websites for gangster rap labels. Okay, so that was all through the '90s. I made Loud Records, Bad Boy Records, Death Row Records, Interscope, Jive, stuff for Sony. I did every rapper who was around then, all their websites, and then sold that. And then we did also Warner Brothers, The Matrix. We did all these movie sites, Miramax.com.
Okay.
Then sold that for millions, and it's not bragging to say that because very quickly I managed to lose everything. I cashed out. I was smart.
Right.
I cashed out,
How
unlike everyone else who let it go down on paper. But then I spent it all.
How much did you make when you cashed out?
About 15 million.
Okay, so you're 0 to 15.
Which I just want to say, 0 to 15. I just want to say, it's not bragging to say that. I mean, I was so stupid almost immediately.
Nobody thinks you're bragging. You lost it 4 times.
Yeah.
Okay. You're way more idiot than brilliant right now.
I'm just being clear.
We're going to build you up to brilliant,
all
right?
All right. So, if possible, I don't know if it's possible.
I mean, people are listening to this right now and they're like, he lost 4 times.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had this conversation prior, and what you said was quite interesting to me. You were like, I know how to get rich. I don't know how to be rich.
Yeah, there's 3 skills: making it, keeping it, growing it. And I know how to make it. Keeping it was hard, was elusive.
And that seems like the easiest thing to do. Like anybody, myself included, we get these millions, I'm good.
Right, you
in
tell
my mind,
yourself
I
that.
put that in a bank. I live off the interest. There's this magical thing called interest, and you get a check. I don't know if that's how it really works, but in my mind, it's how it works. And I just live off that 5 to 10%. That's what I would do. You just buy expensive dogs or something.
Well, I'll buy expensive everything. So houses. I'll invest in other. I mean, I don't. This is the first time I'm thinking of now.
First 15. Talk to me. 15. How do you blow 15?
I bought and rebuilt. Maybe at the time, one of the most expensive apartments in New York City. I was investing in, I had smartly figured the internet is a bubble, and then I immediately invested in all sorts of internet companies that were immediately bankrupt. So I would just, I remember one time a device that helps deaf people communicate to each other through text, by the way, and which is now just a normal phone.
Yeah.
And I invested in this, and it was like nobody needed this. It was like the worst text-based phone on the market.
Right.
It was just for deaf people, so no one needed this. And I lost I don't know why I invested so much in that. I invested like a ton of money. I started another company for wireless software like 15 years before such a thing existed, and I got a ton of investors for that. And then I stopped being able to raise money because everybody realized, oh, this guy was losing all his money and he's losing all of our money. So I stopped being able to raise money. One guy mysteriously popped up and said, I'll invest. A fund representing him. We never knew who he was.
Yeah.
After he died, it was like 5 years later, after he died, there was a big article on what this guy's investments were. He had 2 investments in the United States, and I'll say who he is in a second. Bowlemore Lanes was an investment, and my company.
Bowlemore Lanes, by the way, is a bowling alley.
Yeah,
Okay.
a bowling alley, and my company he had put like I don't know $30 or $40 million in Yasser Arafat. So
Wow.
as they say in Brooklyn,
President of Palestine?
was at the time when he
Yeah.
died president of PLO.
Yes.
So the only person who would invest in a Jewish person like me who was losing money was the head of the Palestine Liberation Organization.
Yeah.
And so as they say in Brooklyn, I lost all his money, so it was good for the Jews.
Yeah.
So
So you became a Jewish hero?
yeah, then suddenly I was invited back to Rosh Hashanah. It used to be tickets were sold out. They would put up the sold out sign when I showed up, but now tickets were
every
available.
synagogue in the city lets you in.
Right.
An absolute hero. Okay, so this is your first 15 million.
Yeah.
You lose it based on investments.
Investments
Some might
and
say-
spending. I also I had a place in Atlantic City. I was traveling all over the place.
Right.
Here's one thing I did.
Yeah.
I had never played basketball in my life.
Right.
And I decided on a whim, I'm going to fly to Las Vegas.
Okay.
And take all my friends with me.
Mm-hmm.
And for a certain amount, you could play Michael Jordan one-on-one. And I just figured, I'm just going to do this. And
Hold on. You played Michael Jordan one-on-one?
no, here's the thing. I land.
Okay.
And everyone's like in the private jet next to me. Mark Cuban's getting off his plane.
Rich people are different. Huh?
everyone's showing up. And I had just turned, I don't know, 30 or 31,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to be 40. And I didn't realize this till I was there, that there was an age. Michael Jordan only wanted to play people above 40 in this event.
How much did it cost to play in one-on-one?
Well, 30,000, but then there's the flying, and I had taken all my friends, and
It was
the whole
only
thing.
30 grand to play
Yeah.
Michael Jordan one-on-one?
Yeah. But yeah, it was like 20 people. So yeah, I guess like 600,000 he made. So yeah, 30,000. You could do it.
Wow. I wonder if we could still do that to this day. That'd be great content. We could make money back on that. I don't know. I mean, I saw him play against some guys. He has this basketball tournament in Santa Barbara, a basketball camp for like adults.
This was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like we were all supposed to get in teams and play.
Yeah.
And then the final thing was playing him one-on-one.
Right. Okay, real quick, church announcements. Got some shows coming up. Toronto, July 13th. Early show sold out. Late show, few tickets left. Get on that quick. That's going to sell out. After Toronto, I'm going to be at the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. I've got 2 of my own shows that I'm going to host there. One is Inside Jokes. The other is Unsafe Sets. Inside Jokes, you've seen it on YouTube. Comics working out their most divisive material. And then Unsafe Sets, we're going to have a no cell phone policy. That means I'm going to have comics doing their craziest stuff. So we can't have any of that recorded. It's going to be the wildest show at the festival, guaranteed. Go get those. I think you can go to hahaha.com to get that. There's also links on my website, The Andrew Schulz. And I'm going to be coming to Russia in September and Australia in September. Matador Tour, going global. For the Toronto show, we are selling merch beforehand, okay? I'm telling you, get the merch beforehand. Just get it beforehand. We sell out every single city that we're in. Matter of fact, when we were in Houston, we sold out all the merch, or as we call it, a fashion. You know the videos. We sold out all the merch for Houston after the first show. We didn't have any left for the second show. My bad, guys. Same thing happened to us in Denver. After the first or the second night, we had sold out of everything. We're going to start selling it before the show. Get there early. You can cop the merch before the show, and then you don't got to worry about it. Thank you guys so much for supporting it. Listen, we can't travel with that many shirts. We only have a limited amount we can travel with. Okay? So we're just going to bring what we can, and you guys could gobble them up. So go get those tickets for all those and more. TheAndrewSchulz.com. Matador.com, Matador Tour. Let's get back to the show. That's amazing. Okay, so that's your first 15 million.
Yeah.
Okay, you blow through the first 15 million, and you probably learn a little bit about yourself, which is you like to gamble.
Well,
The same thing that made you the 15 million is the same thing that gets rid of it, right? I
never
wanna invest in
actually-
these companies.
I never actually thought about that
Right.
way, because when I'm making money,
Doesn't feel like gambling.
right? No, because the way to make money is to actually not take risks, is to actually remove risks. An employee at a job takes more risk than I did when I was making money.
Talk to me.
Because an employee at a job has no control over whether his boss is just going to say,
Fire him.
I'm going to fire this guy today just for fun. Like, I hate this guy, I'm going to fire him. An employee has so little control over his destiny, and he's constantly saying yes to all the things he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
So he takes too much risk. A steady salary is too much risk. So here's how, when I started my first company, I was working at HBO, and HBO needed a website. So I started a company on the side, and I said, okay, I'm going to take all competitive bids. I was in charge. I was going to take all competitive bids. Oh, this guy won. It was my company. I hired myself, and that's how I started my first company. I removed the risk. We were profitable from day one, and I had a salary from a job.
Right.
So I had zero risk.
So side hustle. You started with a side hustle, made it your main hustle.
Yes. And by the way, when HBO finally found out, 18 months later, they were fine with it, but because there was no one else making websites, and I had done a good job of them, so I had to leave, and they became my biggest client.
Right. So would you say your competitive advantage has always been like catching trends before the rest of the world catches them?
Yeah, absolutely. So internet, kind of social media, I caught really early on.
Right.
Other stuff like crypto, I caught really early on.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Okay, so now you're broke, right? You've spent all your money.
Yeah.
You want to come up again.
Yeah.
How do you come up again?
Well,
What's millions?
I don't
number
even
two?
think I can come up again. I think I'm a horrible businessman. I just won the lottery because it was an internet boom,
Yeah.
like unlike anything we'd ever seen before.
Yeah.
And I had cashed in my lottery ticket, and that was it. There is no way to come back.
Right.
I had this huge double-decker, huge, massive apartment right next to the World Trade Center, what was then the World Trade Center. I had a $4 million life insurance policy and $143 cash in the bank, and my expenses were just what the expenses of someone who would be worth $100 million would have.
Right.
So and I had no money, and I remember I called my parents. I have no money. I can't buy diapers for my kids, and they just hung up the phone.
Did you think about when you had that $4 million insurance policy and you had these kids?
Yeah.
Did you think about killing yourself?
Yeah, because they're
How
not
were
going to
you-
remember they were babies, so they're not going to
Yeah.
remember their dad, but they will. I only thought about money. They will be happy with $4 million. That's how sick I was about
But they're
money.
also your kids, so they'd know how to blow it.
That's
something
true.
you have to
Believe
be
me, now
concerned
that
with,
they're
right?
now that they're 18 years older,
Yeah.
or 17 years older, I could see they definitely know how to blow it.
How are you going to kill yourself? How privileged are you that you live in an apartment high enough to jump out of? Like, that is one of the great things about being rich, right?
Yeah, although you could kill yourself.
You
I
can't
did a lot of
commit suicide
research
on the basement apartment
I did a lot of research on this topic. A second floor window is enough, but I was on the 5th floor.
if you dive.
Yeah, if you dive.
But what if you go for feet?
You're
diving is
probably going
tough.
to break all your bones and be paralyzed the rest of your life.
And now
So
you
this is
gotta
the thing.
live with that.
I
Oh.
really researched this.
Yeah.
So because at the time I thought if the insurance company knows you killed yourself, then your beneficiaries can't benefit. So
Oh.
it turns out that's not true. After a year, they can benefit. But I was really intent on figuring out A, how to kill myself without the insurance companies knowing,
Right.
and B, how to kill myself without it hurting. Because
Question.
you don't want to hurt
You don't
yourself
want
while
to
you're
hurt
trying to kill yourself.
Absolutely. Now, you built these websites for all these rap labels. You don't think you can make a couple phone calls and find a murderer?
At that point,
Yeah.
when I was building the websites, yes.
I could get you killed.
No,
I just figured that out right now.
Let me tell you, in my office, people had to check guns at the door. Like, that was the policy.
Right.
But I was, at this point, here's what happens when you lose all your money.
Yeah.
You also lose everybody who ever called themselves your friend.
Ooh.
And I put it that way because they maybe weren't really your friends. They called themselves your friend.
have friends to kill you.
No, I had no friends. I had no family at that time except for my kids,
Uh-huh.
and I had no ability to make money. Like I had no confidence in any skill I had.
Right.
I had zero skills. Everybody thought at that time also the internet was a scam, so I didn't even have internet skills at that point.
Right.
So like in 2002, it was just dead, and it was also literally dead right after 9/11. So everyone was just in that area. The smoke was still covering everything. Everything was just down and depressed, and people had died, a few blocks away. And,
right.
And so I couldn't even complain like, oh, I lost all my 4,000 people just died like 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
So I had nobody, nothing to refer to, nobody to talk to, no friends. I was Alta Vistaing, how to kill yourself. That was the search engine. And there really is no answer, fortunately.
Okay, so now you're at ground zero of your emotional stability, right? I mean, there's nothing left. Zero money.
Yeah.
You got kids.
Got kids.
You moved back in with your folks?
No, but I was afraid I was going to have to. Like, can you imagine moving from, let's call it like a 6,000 square foot apartment,
right,
all decked out, and then moving back in with your parents?
Yeah.
Like
I think about it weekly.
Well, but then my parents, all sorts of stuff happened. Anyway, I dragged together like $10 to buy my kids diapers. Mm-hmm. I go out to the pharmacy. I couldn't remember what diapers they wore. I had never actually changed a diaper at that point because I was too busy making money, supposedly. Yeah. I remember I picked up a payphone to find out what diapers my kids have, and I felt something sticky like against my head. I pull away the phone, and there was like shit all over the phone and then all over my head. I had no money. I just got broke. Couldn't even afford to buy food for my kids. And I couldn't make any of my expenses. I was going to lose my house and everything.
See, it's tough being white.
Family had hung up on me. I don't know about, like, there was no like race consciousness.
I'm teasing. Yeah.
But,
so this is your low. You have shit on the side of your head from a payphone.
Yeah.
I mean, someone had taken a shit.
Or done something, shit.
Wipe their ass with that payphone. Yeah, that's disgusting. And it's on the side of your face.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't washed my face to this day.
That's good. Thank you so much for telling us that now that you're the podcast.
Just don't kiss me here.
Of course not. Now, how do you go from shit on the side of your head to millions again?
Well, I started to realize everything I'm doing is wrong.
Okay.
Like, this is clearly, I've taken a wrong turn.
Right.
And so every habit I had needed to be reversed, almost like that Seinfeld episode where Costanza does the opposite. So I had to literally, get my relationships better, like have friends, for instance, get in shape so I could sleep. I wasn't sleeping at all, like zero sleep a night. Forever. I had to be creative again. People think, I'm going to be creative when I need to be. No, you have to. It's like, you have to, you probably write.
You got to feed the beast.
Yeah, every single day. You cannot miss a day. I write down 10 ideas a day, every day since then. Like, I start with one. Like, I remember in June 2002, I bought a bunch of waiter's pads, which is an easy pad to carry around. Yeah. And
do you have those? Is that what you have right here?
Yeah.
Can I read your 10 today?
Well, this is the 10 stories I thought might be funny from those times. So like 9/11 is the first one.
9/11.
It's not exactly funny, but
what is the next one? MJ.
Oh,
MJ. That's good. Suicide. We hit that. How to suck good cock. It's weird that you would write that down.
That was from college. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Those are just fun times. Craig Cisco.
Craigslist. You can't read all my punchlines before.
Okay, sorry. I'm just going through. Oh, this is great. Okay, good. Yeah, I won't. Some of these are wild. Okay.
But so again, you have to be. I had my first list of 10 things. Yeah. And this is just also how ludicrous it was.
They could be just about businesses. They could be ideas about life. You're just getting the creative juices flowing.
It could be I'm writing to you and I say, here's 10 ideas for jokes.
Yeah.
Now, they could be.
I used to do that.
By the way, most ideas are bad ideas. That's why you have to do this every day to exercise.
We'd write 10 jokes a day.
Like I would write to all these people and say, hey, can I meet you? Can I take you out for coffee? Nobody responded.
Right.
Because like Warren Buffett's not going to say, stop everything. This random guy from New York City wants to buy me a 60-cent cup of coffee.
Right.
You have to actually, so I would come up with ideas for him or ideas for other businesses.
Bring value.
So I would like one time I wrote 10 ideas for Amazon. They flew me out there and I toured around and they showed me stuff. I wrote 10 ideas for Google, flew out there, 10 ideas for LinkedIn. So it helps with like getting into this idea. Yeah.
Was one of those ideas a prenup?
No, I never needed one because I would always go
Bezos.
broke.
You would have saved Jeff a lot of money if prenup was one of those 10 ideas.
Well, I think
40 billion.
I think though he's still got like 100 or 120. He's not worried that much.
Don't you hate it when people decide how worried you are about your money? Like, you still got 100 billion, 40 billion.
No, that's a good point, because let's say you go from 0 to 1 million.
Yeah.
Right, you're ecstatic. If you go from 15 to 1, you're Googling, how do I kill
Yeah,
myself?
you lost $14 million.
Right, because then also the next one is certainly going to happen. But
$40 billion.
yeah. Well, but would you? First off, you wouldn't trade places. I would never want to trade places with him. But I wouldn't mind the money he's got right now.
No, that'd be fine. But I would do some sort of marketing campaign to keep the money away from my wife.
Yeah, some kind of like anti.
No, I'd be
divorce.
like, I was planning on spending $40 billion on helping Haiti, but now I can't because
Right.
my wife needs it
Although
to buy fucking sheets.
she preempted that by saying, "I'm going to give it all to charity."
I know, it was all marketing.
She was
It
a genius.
He should have been the charity one before her.
Right.
That's where he fucked
now
up.
it sort of seems like he's not a charitable guy.
He wants
likes,
to do robots.
yeah, and spaceships.
Fuck spaceships, fuck robots, Haiti.
Right.
That'd be
Look,
the
Bill
genius.
Gates is all about Africa and malaria.
I don't buy that for one bit.
I think it's true.
I don't buy it for one bit. I think his play is he knows we're going to run out of water, and he wants to be the guy that can take anything and turn it into water. So the charitable thing right now is, hey, look, I'm taking African shit and I'm turning it into drinking water. Now they have drinking water. And we're like, oh, Bill, you're the sweetest guy. And then eventually there's going to be no more drinking water. And they're like, does anybody have a device that can turn our shit into water? He's like,
And
oh,
he owns
dude.
Africa at that point.
These guys are scumbags, bro. I can't believe that they're being completely charitable. I saw him and his wife playing $3 poker in Vegas, and I was like, I don't
Really?
trust this motherfucker at all. Yeah, marketing.
This
We're all
is-
taking pictures. He was okay with it. I was like, oh, it's a photo op.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and him and Warren Buffett always like playing bridge together, supposedly, and they're dressed in like these weird sweaters.
What do you think about Buffett?
I think I would never believe anything he says.
Woo!
So-
hot take.
So-
hot take.
So, by the way, I wrote a book on him too in 2004.
Really?
So, yeah, but
Warren Buffett. Can we give some backstory for everybody listening?
yeah, he's
Greatest investor in history?
investor ever.
Yeah.
yeah. Although there's reasons for it.
We'll talk some shit
Yeah.
in a second, but the greatest,
Greatest investor,
arguably
also-
speaking, the
also-
greatest investor in modern history.
Yeah, he always has a good eye for saying there's a lot of value here that everyone's missing.
Yes.
I'm going to load up and I'm going to put all my money into this. He took big risks and he made a ton of money that way.
Tons of money. I mean, at
But-
one point in time, he was the richest man in the world. Now, obviously, it's Bezos and the Mexican guy,
Carlos Slim.
Slim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a rapper, right? Yeah. Great name. I love that. But so Warren Buffett, and he's managed to be pretty squeaky clean. That's the most impressive thing about me with Buffett is
Yeah, he's like
hasn't-
everyone's grandfather. That's his whole thing.
He's he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Now, my understanding is a lot of the money he made was like selling poor people like insane mortgages so they could buy their trailer park homes.
Yeah, well, the thing about he is really into trailer homes because where else? Like, let's say you're falling down the ladder.
Yeah.
Where else are you going to go after a trailer? People are going like. A lot of people actually don't want to be homeless, so they will do anything to pay that mortgage. So he knows that. So the only big home companies he buys are like trailer home companies and like the
Interesting.
furniture companies that supply them.
Interesting.
So, and he buys insurance companies because insurance companies are a great business. You're always making a bet that someone's not going to die when they think they're going to die. You're usually correct because you know the statistics. He really makes his money from being in the insurance business. That's his cash cow.
I think he insured that $1 billion bet for the NCAA tournament.
Well, that's his other thing. So this is where he starts to he's done all those things. Like Olympics, he'll do every major event.
Right.
Because right after 9/11,
Right.
he went on TV everywhere.
He bet that?
Well, no, he didn't bet that.
Oh,
but
my God.
Here's what
How
he
did
did.
he beat that one? That'd be crazy.
Here's what he did,
Yeah.
though. After 9/11, he went around all over the place saying, within 50 years, 100% chance there's going to be a nuclear attack on U.S. soil. And so suddenly now every stadium is panicked, and they're like, Warren, we believe you because
Holy shit.
you're our grandfather, Warren.
Do you have any insurance I can buy on that?
Yeah, and he would sell it.
Oh, my God. This guy's a scumbag.
And so it rakes in so much money. He's got the only
Creates the
insurance
fear.
companies. Yeah.
And then sells you the insurance based on it.
Right.
What a genius business. Now, my question is, how the fuck has his image maintained? How has he maintained this like perfect, clean cut? He's not the villain. He's your buddy image. How much does that cost? Just drinking a Coca-Cola every day on a park bench and some fucking Dockers?
I think because he looks like grandfather. He lives. I've been at his house. He lives in like a 2-bedroom house with like a halfway decent car in the driveway. He like lives a somewhat
Kaiser
simple
Sose,
life.
dude.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Usual Suspects?
Yeah.
He's fucking Kaiser Sose. He's selling us fear and then selling us insurance.
Yeah, that's his primary business. But then, I mean, there's so many aspects. Like he doesn't invest.
Does he sell
like
health insurance?
Yeah, he sells everything.
Hold
Every kind
on.
of
So
insurance.
he sells us Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Gives us heart disease.
Yeah.
And then sells us the insurance to
Yeah,
hopefully
and-
fix us.
Right, and he owns. He's basically the biggest insurance company in the world. So, or maybe second.
Holy shit. Give
And
me
he
other
sells
scams.
every kind of insurance possible.
We got to take Buffett down.
And insurance is great because here's what happens.
Yeah.
In a bank, if you put money in a bank, you want that money back eventually.
Yeah.
Right? But while the money's in the bank, lends it out. Doesn't really need your permission, but the bank
Right.
lends it out
Makes
for
some money on
mortgages
it,
and
yeah.
makes a little bit of money. With an insurance company, so Warren Buffett flirted with the banking business, but he's like, you know what? There's another thing that's better. Insurance, you
don't
give
get
your
any money back.
You don't even want it back. You never want it back. And
If you get your money back, you failed.
and he invests it. He doesn't invest his own. He invests that money very aggressively, and he invests all in special deals. Like
Okay, so let's back this up real quick, just so everybody understands. When you're purchasing insurance, you don't want that money back. In other words,
because that means
you
you're sick
fucked up.
or dead or
You died.
or your leg is cut off or whatever.
Boom. So I'm buying insurance for this car accident,
Or
right?
a nuclear bomb hit your stadium.
Exactly.
Whatever.
So I'm praying you get to keep my money.
Right.
Where as a bank, I'm giving the money and I'm like, motherfucker, I better get my money.
Right.
Right. Whenever I need it, I get it.
Right.
Right. So this insurance thing is I give you $500 money, I give you $200, whatever it is, hoping to God I don't have to go to the doctor, hoping to God I don't get into a car accident, hoping to God that I don't have, my life doesn't end and this life insurance policy gets cashed in. He takes that money that he doesn't have to pay you back only if something catastrophic happens, and the chances of that happening are very slim. That's why he's in the business anyway.
Yeah.
He takes that money.
He
and then
knows all the odds for everything.
He knows all the odds, and then he aggressively invests in that. Now he can invest way more aggressively than a bank. You're saying. Because the bank still got to give you your money whenever you need it.
Right.
Whereas Warren's like, you're never going to get this money. What are the chances of nuclear?
Right. And also think of how hard it is when you get sick, how long it takes for you to get your money back. If you go to an ATM machine, you get your money right away. An insurance company, it might take,
Are you
I don't know,
really
6
sick?
months.
You just
6
said
months.
if you killed yourself, your kids wouldn't get the money for a year.
Life insurance, they're usually good with.
But you said a year if you killed yourself.
No, life insurance, you can do, if you can prove, hand a death certificate, they will send you the money right away.
Not if it's suicide.
Right. If it's suicide, they'll investigate.
Oh, my, okay. So this is
yeah.
So
that's
this
a problem.
fucking Buffett is brilliant.
Yeah. That's how he makes.
Holy shit.
That's like step one in how he makes money. But because he gets to keep 100% of the profits. He doesn't share the profits with you. Like if you're sick, maybe you'll get your money back. But he's certainly not going to say, "Oh, by the way, we made a lot of money on Coca-Cola last month. Congratulations."
Here's some
He doesn't
money.
do that. That all goes in his pocket. That's step number one.
So this is why these insurance companies don't want what is it called, the public health care or any of that kind of stuff, because this is the best way that they can make money. This is
but he would still
business.
make the money because his stadiums don't sign up for Obamacare, so
Right.
he's created new categories for himself because everyone assumes everything he says is like the word of God.
Mind
like
blown.
he will say the most scary things.
So I want to get to step 2 in a second, but there is so much equity in your there's so much equity in your voice being the word of God, right? Like
Yeah,
and
that's step 2, by the way. But go ahead.
Okay, because I've noticed a lot of people that is their business strategy, right? Like a Gary V, for example.
Yeah.
Gary pushes so hard on social media, the inspiration, etc. He becomes the business guy, and then these businesses go, "Well, we need somebody to help us with our business," and he's like, "Well, look at me, I'm the business guy."
Well, and you could imagine with Gary, let's say some group wants to buy the New Jersey, is it the New Jersey or New York Jets? I don't even know.
New York Jets. Yeah. They
So that's
play
how
in Jersey. Yeah.
So let
Steve, no more out of you, thank you.
let's Gary always says, I want to buy the Jets. I want to buy this. Let's say some group wants to buy the Jets.
Who's going to be the face of the Jets?
Right. They'll say, Gary, you could come in for free. We'll give you 5% for free.
That's what we think is happening with Magic Johnson and Kobe Bryant
Oh, with all those guys.
in LA.
Yeah.
They're lobbying to be the face of the organization without putting up the big money for the
But a
investment.
guy like Warren Buffett, he's
Yeah.
not playing at that level. He's playing 50 times higher.
Yeah.
So, and we were already speaking about, let's say, $1 billion level. He's speaking much higher. So his
give me.
So like take as an example, Goldman
This fucking
Sachs.
scumbag acts like he's this sweetheart. Oh, I don't pay enough in taxes. Oh, do you not?
All right, so
Fuck you.
Right, so
Fuck you.
he says. That's the other thing. Okay, this is step one and a half.
Okay, give me step 1.5.
So he says his big thing is, oh, my secretary pays more taxes than I do. He doesn't pay any taxes because he doesn't make any money. He all his money is in Berkshire Hathaway stock. He's never sold a single share. You only have to pay taxes when you sell. And so, but you can borrow as much as you want off of those shares, and you don't pay taxes on money you borrow. And
what does that mean? You can borrow off of
I
shares?
have this asset, just like I have a house.
So I have the bank lend me money off of the asset.
And by the way, at 0% interest, because he's Warren Buffett.
God, this son of a bitch! You son of a bitch, Warren! Hold on. I'm never drinking Coke again. Pepsi all day. This guy, let me just get this straight here. He borrows money from a bank on
the shares he owns,
of his company, of the shares he owns, and the bank obviously gives him money. This is Berkshire Hathaway. This
he's got a credit card that goes against.
Pay this back.
Yeah,
Boom.
He's got like some special like diamond, card or whatever that takes as much cash as it wants out of his shares. He's got $70 or $80 billion worth of stock.
And then how does he pay that money back?
Never. It doesn't matter. No one ever asks him for the money back. You think you're going to call Warren Buffett and say, Warren, we think you're overdue on that $1 billion line. No one asks him for his money back.
Wait, what do you mean no one asks for their money back?
They're happy to do business with him. Whatever bank he borrows. He borrows from Goldman
mafia,
Sachs,
bro.
So he borrows from Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I don't know whether he pays it back or not.
Yeah.
But if I were him, I certainly wouldn't pay it back because you don't have to.
What do you mean?
He has $80 billion worth of stock. Let's call it that. It might be $100 billion. If he borrows like $10 million, he wants to buy something. They're never gonna. It's backed by $100 billion worth of assets. They're not going to charge him interest. They're just like, Warren, when we do a deal and we think it's interesting to you, can we call you? Can we have your phone number to call you? And he says, yes. Okay, we'll never ask for the money back.
You're telling me right now Warren Buffett doesn't pay for money that he gets and doesn't have to pay back loans that he gets.
Well, I'm not saying he does that. I'm saying he doesn't have to.
And if he, let's say hypothetically speaking, if he wanted to pay that money back, let's say he got a $100,000 loan, based on, certain percentage of the stocks or whatever, and the bank is like, hey, we'd like that $100,000 back. Would he sell certain shares to get cash?
No, or he might just give them the shares.
He could pay them in shares.
Yeah.
And that way, oh my God, that way he doesn't have any revenue.
Yeah,
and therefore he doesn't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, personally, he never has. I don't know if he's made more than like whatever his stated salary is. Maybe it's $1. He doesn't make enough money to pay taxes. He's below the poverty line in terms of income.
So he should be living in one of his trailer homes.
So basically, but he his shares, his $80 billion pay for everything. Because here's the thing. Now we'll get to step 2 on Warren Buffett.
Good.
Is he does all his deals with Goldman Sachs. I'm making this up, but I'm assuming he does his deals with Goldman Sachs.
And just to give a context, everybody listening, Goldman Sachs
they're the biggest bank,
right? But also operate like a fund too, right?
Yeah.
Investment bank.
So they were in trouble in 2008 when every other bank was in trouble. Them maybe more than most.
Right.
So they called up Warren Buffett and said, Warren, we've done so much business together over the past 40 years. Can you help us out? Can you show the public that Warren Buffett is investing in our stock? So that'll send a message to the public that that we're safe, that Goldman Sachs is safe. Warren Buffett is behind us. That's the value of his name. And he said, no. He said, I need a special deal. And here's the deal. If you go bankrupt, I take all of your assets and I liquidate them until I get my money back first, before any of the millions of shareholders you have, before all the teachers, before all the firemen, before all the police departments, before they get a dime, I get to liquidate all the real estate you own and I get my money back first.
Just to clarify, the teachers, the firemen, et cetera, are involved in
401k plans,
that invest all their retirement, et cetera. So Warren Buffett is like, fuck them.
Right.
I got to get mine before the teachers get their little $40,000 they've accrued over 10 years.
So Goldman Sachs owns a lot of real estate. I'm going to put in $1 billion or $10 billion. I think he put in $5 billion. I'm going to take all your real estate. I liquidate it first. I take all your other assets, liquidate them.
Means essentially sell
them.
Off.
Sell them for fire sale prices.
Yeah.
And on top of it, if I buy your shares, if I'm just sitting there, you just owe me 9% a year on my money. So $450 million a year on $5 billion.
No matter how you do, I get 9% guaranteed.
I get 9% guaranteed. So after a few years, there's no way for him to lose money as long as they stay in business. And by the way, 9% is a ridiculous rate because interest rates even then were like 2-3%, like nothing. And he was saying, no, I think I want 9. And Goldman Sachs was like, deal.
What?
Done.
Because they know the value of his investment.
F his name. And you know what? Well, I remember I was at CNBC that day. The stock, Goldman Sachs skyrocketed while the rest of the market was crashing.
So is he so influential that him speaking about any stock can be considered insider trading?
Yeah, if you knew in advance what he was buying, you would definitely, and then you bought those shares, you would definitely be guilty of insider trading.
It would have to be knowing in advance.
Yeah.
Because then you'd be able to predict the market. But he can move the market by himself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If he guys like him have to disclose what they own after they buy it. So he makes his purchase, then he discloses it. That's why the stock goes up. So he'll buy a stock, he'll disclose it, that stock will go up. So even if after it goes up, if you buy it, you'll usually make money because he's actually a good investor too.
Well, yeah, he's not investing in losing his money.
Right. Yeah. But he does get special deals every single time now.
And he should. Right?
He's Warren Buffett.
It's Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, stage 3 for him making money.
That's really
prostitution ring, little boys.
That's really it. I would say there probably are hedge funds that do stuff like that, but he's not one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
You think there are hedge funds invested in like human trafficking?
I'm not gonna speculate.
We already shit all over the most powerful man in finance. So
yeah, I'm already dead. I'm already gonna walk out of here and get assassinated.
Do you think he's got some bodies, Warren Buffett?
No.
There's no way you can have that much money and you haven't murdered somebody. I don't believe it's possible. Everybody that's got $1 billion has to have at least one body.
I mean, okay.
Not like you pulled the trigger, but like
this look at Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is accused all the time of like overthrowing governments to get, sugar plantations and stuff.
I'm sure they do it.
So
you don't think they do it?
Yeah.
What do you want, Tab? Tab is the good guy cola. We don't want to drink that.
Wait, Tab was owned by Coke, I think, or Pepsi. It was owned by one of them.
Coke probably killed some people and bought Tab. That's how it works.
Exactly.
You really believe you can be an ethical billionaire?
I do.
Talk to me.
So I think Ken Langone, who started Home Depot,
yeah,
I think he's an ethical billionaire.
Well,
you go to the hospital here in New York City.
Parents in the Amazon don't think that way. Chopping down their houses.
Every medical student in New York City goes to medical school for free because he pays for all their tuitions because he wants more doctors.
Because he's murdered people and he feels guilty about it, dude.
Why
else would you do that?
But
also, why does he want more doctors? He should just be opening up the border, letting more people in who build shit.
Because
this is Home Depot.
Because here's what the two things every billionaire cares about, and I've interviewed about 20 or 30 of my podcasts. Here's the two things they all care about.
Okay.
So they've made all this money and they've really sacrificed to make this money.
Yeah.
So now they're having a party, but they're older, and so the two things they care about is I can't let the government seize my money, which is always a possibility.
Yep.
So they're arch libertarians or Republicans or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they're against any kind of
government overreach, taxation. Sure.
So that's the first thing.
Keep your
and
resources.
The second thing they worry about is longevity. They want to live forever. So they fund massive amount. Every research on longevity is funded by a billionaire.
Right. But it's completely selfish. It's like, how do I continue living rich? Don't take my money and keep me alive.
Those aspects are true. So maybe that's why he wants more doctors. But it does seem like, every hospital in New York is named NYU Langone Hospital now. Like, he donates billions and billions to...
Langone in Italian?
Yeah, he pronounced it Langone.
But is he Italian or is
I don't think he's Italian.
Jewish? He's like...
No, I think he's like...
Permission to speak.
No, permission not granted. We'll work this out over here, Steve. Okay, go. Tell us.
He is Italian, yeah.
Really? Are you sure?
Kenneth?
Maybe he's one of those Spanish Jews.
This guy named Kenneth. It's like a really waspy name.
I get it, but I think his dad was kind of blue collar. He grew up in Long Island, and he talks about it in his book, which is called Capitalism is...
Don't give him that. Don't give him that mic. It will just enable him to take that back.
I think Richard Branson's a good guy. I think Richard Branson's a good guy. He's been on the podcast. I think he's a decent. I think he just likes having fun, and for him,
think?
Yeah, I think.
You don't think he's taking to your island, drugging you, and butt fucking you?
I don't think.
I think that's what he's doing on his island. Come to my island. We'll go on a jet ski. You wake up a little groggy, asshole hurts.
Kind of like a Bill Cosby version of an island.
Oh, for sure.
James wrote the book on billionaires.
So yeah, I wrote a book, Think Like a
See
Billionaire.
what I told you about this fucking guy?
Yeah.
See what I told you about this fucking guy? Dwayne, we're going to have him take
Every
him outside in a
podcast,
second. Shut
every
the fuck up, Sting! Okay. Okay, so interesting. So they want to live longer so they can be more rich. This is pretty obvious, right? I could see
Or
this.
so they could
It's
just
not
enjoy
shocking.
it. But
Well,
yeah.
why wouldn't you want to?
And also, the thing is, you have to wonder about the psychology. Who needs $1 billion? Nobody needs $1 billion.
We had this conversation, okay? It is so absurd, the idea of being a billionaire. I actually think it's like counterintuitive to joy. I think in my opinion, right? It's like you have the opportunity to live life or survive it.
Yeah.
Okay? So, Taylor, please. You have the opportunity. It's amazing how you can run this podcast without even talking on it. So you have the opportunity to live life or survive it, right? Meaning, most of it, but most of us are surviving life, right? I'm doing a job every single day. I got to go out here. I got to do the shows. Am I wealthy? Perhaps, maybe not these billionaire guys, but yeah, I have money. But at the same time,
But surviving implies something negative.
No. I'm not saying it's bad.
Okay.
Right? How you survive could be negative, right?
Okay.
So like, I choose to make a living doing the thing I love. So I've hacked life in a way, right? But I don't have complete financial freedom. There are people who have 50 million and every choice they make in their life that day is because they want to do it. They don't have to do shit.
Right.
They want to.
Well,
they wake up wanting.
I could tell you from my experience, it's a mental illness. Like, I literally woke up with the big amount in my bank account, which I saw in the morning, and I was like, here's what I actually thought, and this is going to sound disgusting to listeners, to everybody. I literally thought I was dirt poor.
When you had how much?
15 million.
Yeah, because you're around people with so much more. Everything's relative, right?
But it's still a mental illness because you grow up your whole life thinking, I don't need more than X and whatever it is.
So check it. So you have these guys, right? And they're like, okay, I have 15 million, but 15 million isn't enough. I want to be a billionaire, or I want to be 100 millionaire. And then when you get to 100 millionaire, I want to be a billionaire, right? Yeah. And basically what I think they're doing is just creating a survival matrix in their brain so they can keep on surviving, because that's the only way they know how to live. They can't just go 15 million. I can live off this and I can choose to do whatever I want every single day. I have the rare opportunity to actually live life, not survive it, right? So they decide to put these goals ahead of them, like being a billionaire, when it's the stupidest thing in the world, because if you want to be a billionaire, take your 15 million and turn it into Thai baht. You're a billionaire. Change the currency to some shitty currency.
Yeah,
Go to Cuba. You're a billionaire. Like, being a billionaire is absurd.
And
Matter
the
of
thing
fact,
is,
let's say you have 1 billion, right? And let's say you transfer that money
a
into
mere single-digit billionaire.
A mere single-digit billionaire, and then you transfer that money into English pounds. Are you still a billionaire?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Well, okay, but they only count it in U.S. Their mind is only calculating that.
Right, but you see how absurd this is, right? It's an arbitrary number we just made up. It means nothing.
The thing is, they got so focused on making $1 billion, and we're kind of broadly categorizing. But let's say they got so focused on making $1 billion. First off, it is only single digit for them, so now they need to make 10. Second, they have a new problem. They want to make sure they don't seem stupid by making $1 billion. They have to now spend it. So it seems like they had a plan in mind. They had no plan. So they say, okay, what crappy basketball team can we buy? What crappy soccer team? Like, one guy just bought a $233 million apartment right next to Central Park. Like, what apartment is worth $250 million? But he has to sound smart to himself. He's got to spend the money he's making. He's making money. So this one guy is making money so fast that was like a drop in the bucket for him.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's the problem, is because he has no concept on how to live, right? Like, you can tell these people don't know how to live based on the shit they buy, because they buy things that they think they're supposed to buy now that they're rich. Right. You would, if you really were living, you would buy the exact house you've always wanted to live in, not the most expensive house in Manhattan.
Right. So think about, like, everybody always wonders, well, how much money do I need for financial freedom? You already said you're doing what you love. So if you knew you could do that forever,
have to keep doing it.
Right. So if you wanted to keep doing it forever, you're already financially free. But let's say you like your lifestyle and eventually you want to stop working. You just take your lifestyle. Let's say you spend $100,000 a year after taxes. I'm making it up. Mm-hmm. You multiply by 25, because you'll assume, I don't want to go into the math.
Doesn't matter.
You need basically $2.5 million to keep a $100,000 lifestyle going on 4% interest a year. Mm-hmm. So that's it. And then if you want to if I get rich, I'll maybe do this a little bit differently. Okay, now you need 2.7 million instead of 2.5 million.
Right.
That's all you have to figure out.
Yeah.
If you survive on 30,000 a year, you need 1.2 million. So, or whatever the number is, so not even a million.
Right.
So, not even.
Yeah.
But
and then the other thing is backing into it as well, right? It's like, okay, I need to have this $100,000 lifestyle. Let's say this interest that I'm getting brings me 50,000. Now I only need to make 50,000.
right. Or you could say, screw my kids. I'm just going to spend down and die with zero. Like, why give the kids money? They didn't earn it.
So we were talking about this. What do you think about the idea of you can't pass anything down, like some real Native American shit? Like, we don't own anything. We don't own land. Matter of fact, you get this one life to accrue wealth, and then after that, your kids get jack shit. Don't you think we'd be better human beings if there was no hand-me-down?
Yeah. So that is a great idea, but
Yeah.
this is the other thing wealthy people are good at is finding loopholes for everything.
Yes.
So, like for instance, Warren Buffett, he is leaving his kids nothing.
That's what he says.
But
yeah.
So then what he did was he gave all his money to charity. He set them up. I think he has like 3 or 4 kids. I forget.
And they're the boards of the charity?
He set them up with. They're the heads of $3 billion charities. Now, by the way, you could take 3% of a charity in income, roughly. So they could make, if they want, $90 million a year. And charge everything else to the charity if they spend more than that. But he's leaving them nothing, by the way.
Scumbag.
He's leaving them zero.
What a fucking scumbag. Do you think that the charitable endeavors of the rich are motivated more so by guilt than anything else?
I think particularly out of
PR. Like, do they realize, like, okay, I have so much money that if I don't at least attempt to care about the world, they're going to murder me?
Well, I think part of it is PR. Like, look, think about it. The first time privacy issues were raised at Facebook, The Social Network came out. Remember the movie The Social Network? The day it came out, Mark Zuckerberg donated $100 million to Newark schools. So he was on top of it. Yeah. But I think though they do want to. There is a charitable side to everybody, and people want to. If you have $100 billion and you sign a little thing, oh, when I die, half of it goes to charity. They don't care. They're dead. So, but they just gave $50 billion to charity in the news. So that's how they do it.
Okay, so you're broke again.
Broke again.
How do you come up? This is come up number 2. You're on come up number 5 right now.
Yeah.
Nobody is better at making $1 million from nothing than you.
That's probably true.
Let's be honest, right?
That's why I've done it. I've done it 5 times, and I've helped other people do it.
Well, we're going to get into that, okay? But my thing is, like, it's very easy to. I mean, you can even look at Trump, right? It's very easy to start with $1 million and then make 2. It's very easy to start with.
When did he start with $1 million and make 2?
Well,
he started with $2 billion because his dad.
Regardless, you know what I'm saying. Like, it's easier to have money and make a little money. It's no different than like flipping. If you got some drugs, you can sell it and make a little money on the drugs. But how do you have no money, no drugs, and then start to make some money on it? So you're at 0.
Yeah,
you're really good at getting money out of people.
Yeah. Well,
how the fuck?
Well, again, a lot of it comes to exercising creativity every day. You're really good at making people laugh every day.
Right.
I'm really good at
They pay $25 a ticket for that. You find some way to get people who have pretty good bullshit detectors, right? This is a bullshit business, finance. Like you're there getting pitches every single day.
Can I tell you about someone who totally rejected me? Rejected me so badly, I actually quit the entire industry I was in.
Was it a woman?
So no.
Oh, okay.
I was raising money for a business.
Yeah.
And
wait, are you telling me about million number 2?
This was right after 2, and I was building towards 3.
Well, why don't we get there? This is baby steps.
Right.
We're going there. So give me number 2.
All right, number two was.
You're at 0. You're like,
0.
okay, I need to make some money again. Do you have a regular day job? Do you take...
No. Day jobs are you can't do that.
Okay.
You can't make money at a day job.
Okay.
So,
but you have 0 money. You need to eat. How are you eating?
Right. So right away I started helping people who needed to figure out their own businesses, and I started writing. So I started writing for the first. I'd been writing every day for 12 years at that point. This time I started writing professionally and getting paid for it. So I was writing up to like 10 to 20 articles for different websites a day and getting like $200 to $300 per article.
Okay, so now you have revenue.
Yeah.
And how do you convince them that you should write for them? Why should anybody take advice from you about business? You just lost $15 million.
I wrote to every editor and I said, I want nothing from you guys.
Yeah.
Here's 10 ideas for articles someone on your team should write.
So, because you weren't writing it.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm not going to take like safe sex advice from Magic Johnson.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But But nobody knew in 2002. Oh, this is the guy. I was writing like random people like, oh, here's Jim Cramer at thestreet.com. Here's Jim. Here's 10 ideas you should write for articles. And he wrote back. And other people wrote back, and he said, these are fantastic. Why don't you write them? And then I started writing for all these.
Okay,
started writing for them, the Financial Times. Then I wrote some software to model the stock market. I figured I was so horrible at investing, I'm the stupidest person in the room. So I should let software take over for my emotions and decisions. So I wrote, I don't want to get complicated. I wrote software to trade the markets. It worked. And I just gave the software for free to other big billionaires for free. And I said, I'll train you how to use this. And here's the track record. And they're like, we're billionaires. We're not going to figure this out. We'll just give you money. So you start investing. And I started making money on their money. I would take a percentage of the profits on their money.
Okay, so you wrote this software to trade the markets. So you found some sort of algorithm
Yeah.
that allowed you to predict stock mobility
Yeah.
and
With super high accuracy.
how?
So I don't want to get complicated, but I took
No. Get complicated.
I took every piece of stock market data since 1946.
And you're doing this in what year?
2001.
Okay.
This is actually before 9/11.
Right.
This was on my way going broke, and I took every piece of stock market data since 1946. I wrote software to like Microsoft went up this day, went down this day, went up this day, went up this minute, went down the next minute, went up this second, went down the next second. Oh, Microsoft and GM are reverse. They move in different directions.
So you
when
found
one
which
goes
stock
up,
affects the other, and then you found ability to predict them. So if GM's going down, you know that you should flood Microsoft because that's where usually
something
pops
like
up.
that. And so I had like hundreds of patterns that I figured out. So for instance, this one was an ATM machine for me, and it doesn't work anymore. If the market was, you know how sometimes the market opens up higher than it closed the day before?
Yeah.
I figured out the exact point where if the market opens up here, within 30 minutes, it's going to go down a certain number of points. It worked the previous 99 times out of 100 throughout history.
So you would.
So I would just what's called
Short the stock.
Yeah, and it was by 10 a.m. my day was done every day. And
How much were you making?
well, for myself, I was small. Like I was only making like whatever I could afford, I would put in.
Right.
So let's say a couple $100 or $1,000. But for everybody else, I was trading for them, and then I was taking 20% of what they would make, and just depositing it in my bank account.
How has nobody done this prior to you?
People do this.
No, now they do.
Yeah.
But how had nobody done this before you?
People started doing it like in the mid 90s, but it was still
how did nobody
a new.
do it the second the stock market opened? This seems idiotic that nobody else jumped. I mean, this is what all this math is with basketball players now, right? Like,
yeah.
Or like
it's the same.
athletes.
By the way, we all read Moneyball at the time,
and you were like, oh yeah, this is it.
Yeah, he was just using my strategy for baseball.
Really?
So I know a guy right now, actually, who did this for
Your money.
And this guy is doing this now for football. So I don't think he would mind me saying this. This guy's got a Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl ring because he did this for football. Every football player's got sensors on their helmet and then their chest. And he would take all the data from all the sensors, and then he would call out 3 plays to the coach that his AI figured out were the right plays. And the coach would make one of those plays, and the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl.
What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
No.
So based on exhaustion, based on muscle tension, based on...
He would basically say the last 5 times, he would have a measure he called fatigue. The past 5 times this quarterback had this level of fatigue, the right play, even if it's third down, the right play is to call him out and put a new quarterback in, and on 4th down, go for it. And he would call these totally irrational plays. Like who would pull out a quarterback in 3rd down? He would call out these totally irrational plays. They would make them, and they won the Super Bowl with it.
So he's playing poker.
It's the same principles.
There's a chance that you could fuck up, but we'll run with
and it's the same
percentages.
principles as stock market. You're just placing a bet with statistics behind it.
This is mind-boggling to me that's how the Philadelphia Eagles won the fucking Super Bowl. Is this what Tom Brady and the Patriots have been doing this whole time?
No. As far as I know, this is the only guy doing it, and he's doing a different team this year.
Which team? So we can put some money behind it right now.
Did he say?
Yeah, he said. Yeah.
The Dolphins.
Guys, time to make some investments. Whoa. Okay. Wait, how do we even get into this?
So I was using these ideas.
I cannot believe
20
nobody
years
else
ago.
tried to do this before.
People were doing it,
but
but
you're
not
the
that
first
many.
person to put it into a program and
People
write
were-
software.
People were doing that too, but not that many. Now everybody does it. Back then, not that many people did it.
Right. Okay. So the average person that's playing the stock market without any help from these programs, there's one called Wealth Simple, I imagine.
I don't know. I don't even know
Whatever,
anymore.
doesn't matter. But the average person just dabbling with the stock market it has zero competitive advantage whatsoever, right? You might as well just
zero.
It's like it's stupid at this point to even
Zero, because I just
bother.
told you, like, here's how Warren Buffett makes money. He calls the CEO and makes a deal. Who else is going to call the CEO of Goldman Sachs and have an advantage over Warren Buffett?
So what should the average person do that's just trying to like mess around on online, not gambling, but online stock market shit, Scott Trade or these type of things? Don't do it. It's a stupid investment.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I would say start a business. The best way is invest in yourself. If you spend $2,000 taking photography classes, you just need to do one wedding and you made 100% on your money. So find many ways to invest in yourself, and
Right.
that's the way to do it. Wow. If you have to invest in stocks, be diversified, try to figure out where is my unfair advantage, and that's a little more complicated.
Okay, so this company is fucking genius. You end up selling this company.
No, this company I didn't sell. It's a whole story. I own part of a mental health facility, and he got an offer for $10 million for the whole company, and I said, let me do this. And 3 months later, he got an offer for $40 million, $41 million cash. And since I owned a piece, that's really how I made my next.
How much did you make?
I made about 1.5 on that.
You made 1.5 on that. Okay, so that's your second million.
Right, and then I lost that pretty quickly.
We're going to get to that. How do you turn a $3 million offer to 40?
A $10 million?
10 to 40.
Why is Snapchat worth, I don't know, 50 billion, and some other company that might have profits worth 10 million? Or
Why?
It's just perception. You have to, companies like these internet Silicon Valley companies, they spend a lot of money on perception,
Right.
And that perception carries them all the way to a high. What are people willing to pay? The only reason to go public on the stock market is because those are your least knowledgeable investors, is the average guy investing in the stock market. Before that, no one would pay more than $1 billion. Then then Snapchat's like, screw it, we're just going to
Let's get
sell
the
to
retards out here.
Yeah, and they get worth $50 billion. You think any smart investor would pay a $500 billion valuation for Facebook? No, their last round was like at $1 billion or $2 billion.
So the second you need real money, you let the peasants get invested because they think
That's the only reason for an IPO in today's world. An IPO is when you go public on the stock market.
to get dumb investors.
Yeah. And so you can cash out of your own money. But even now,
You get your money.
Yeah.
You let these idiots take all the risk.
Right. That's what happens. That's actually historically the only reason to go public, but now more than ever. Because there's so much money in being invested, the investors want exits. And so the investors are like, we're done investing. Uber, you're in too much trouble. We just put money in at $100 billion valuation. Get the hell out on the stock market now. And so Uber was forced to IPO because their investors said, what are we going to do? Raise money at $1 trillion? Like, we're done. And so they had to go public. And guaranteed they had a good deal at the IPO.
The sentence you said, what are we going to do? Raise money at $1 trillion. Explain how evaluations work for companies. So before they enter the stock market, you can raise money based on.
Let's say you're gonna raise Brilliant Idiots Inc.
Right.
is selling T-shirts, and we're gonna sell subscription. We're gonna make money. We're gonna sell subscriptions to our podcast.
Right.
We're gonna also, sell some courses on stand-up comedy or whatever.
Sure.
We're a company, and then you go to some venture capitalists and say, "Hey, we're worth $5 million right now." And because we have so many listeners and we already sold so many T-shirts, and the investor's going to say, "Nah, I don't think you're worth $5 million. I think you're worth $1 million." And then you go to your parents and you say, "Look, I think we're worth 10." And the parents say, "Of course, Andrew, you're worth 20. Here's a check." So it's all perception.
Right. And once you get that.
But smart investors, you could only play the perception game so much.
Because eventually they're going to be like, listen, no company's worth $1 trillion. But dumb investors, the average person is going to go, oh, Facebook, that seems to be doing well. I'll give $20 to that.
Or Apple might legitimately be worth $1 trillion.
Right.
But Uber, we don't even know if they're worth 0 yet.
Right.
Like Uber can't figure out how to make money They literally, and every city is suing them. So the investors are like, oh my gosh, we're
This could
sitting on so
fail.
much money here. You better go public now, like tomorrow. Like it was really fast how fast they went public.
You think way too fast. You think that's a concern.
No, but I certainly would not have bought it. Like any company like that. Oh, please let me invest. Oh, I finally get the chance at $120 billion
Right.
when everybody else gets in at 5 million, 10 million, even 30 billion. They made a ton of money.
Okay, so now you're up 1.5 million. Plus you had some money from this other stock business that you're making. So maybe you have over
that was making me a living, not really building wealth, but that thing.
supporting the lifestyle.
Yeah.
You were living okay. You're at least at 1.5 million cash, right? Is this when you meet bin Laden?
No,
Okay. Is that later on?
that was before.
How do we skip over you and your buddy bin Laden?
So
not just Arafat.
So-
You love all these guys.
So here's what happened. I never met
You're
bin
the
Laden.
worst Jew ever. Hold on. You managed to lose millions 4 different times, and your buddies with bin Laden and Yasser
I
Arafat.
wasn't buddies with bin Laden.
Right.
Yasser Arafat did invest in my company, and I love bacon. So, but here's what happened. I'm in my huge place that I'm in the process of losing.
Right.
Okay, I'm like literally going to my office, shutting the door, and crying every day. And my 2-year-old daughter is like constantly knocking on the door, and I ignore her.
Right.
And then the doorbell rings, and I look out. There's a video camera, and a guy holds up a badge. NYPD, can we come up? And I had no idea what I had done, but I assumed I already was so down on my luck and my confidence. I assumed I had done something very wrong.
Right.
And so I was seriously considering running out the back door.
Right.
And they come up and they say, and I let them in, and they say, sorry, we're not with the NYPD, we're with the FBI. And I said, why did you think NYPD was better than the FBI?
Yeah.
We just didn't want to scare people on the street. And still, FBI sounds more professional somehow. I don't know. It seems
Right.
like I'd rather have the FBI come up than NYPD who
Right.
could arrest me. And they said, listen, we heard from a guy that you knew something about bin Laden, so it's right after 9/11. We need to check everything out. And they didn't call him bin Laden. They call him UBL. We heard you knew something about UBL.
Yeah. Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, who was this guy? And this guy, his name almost sounds like a joke, but it isn't, is Dr. Larry Brilliant. And he solved, in the 70s, he went all over India and cured smallpox in India. He convinced every village to be vaccinated against their religion, and he eradicated smallpox in India. Anyway, he was an investor in the same company Arafat was an investor in, and I had conversations with him where another investor had the bin Laden family as their investor. So not Osama bin Laden, but his whole family. But the conversation was they put that on their European marketing materials, but not their American marketing materials, this big
Right.
bank-like company. And so they just wanted to ask for that. And they said, oh yeah, that company's on our radar. And then they just hung out and like shot pool for the next 4 hours. And like, I'm terrified that the whole time they're there. But I kept asking them, are you guys stopping anything? Is something going to happen?
This is post 9/11 or
Post
pre?
9/11. And
Wow.
they're like, oh yeah, we're stopping a ton of stuff like all the time right now.
Hold on. So your curiosity was, are there terrorist attempts that they stopped that we don't know about?
Right.
And they confirmed that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they could have been joking around. I don't know, but that's what they
Right.
said. And, right next to where I lived or across the street was FBI headquarters in New York at the time. I don't know if it's still there. And I never slept, so I was walking around all the time. I'd pass by there. You would always see like vans stopping, guys with hoods over, like being dragged into the FBI headquarters. It was happening like every day.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to get me in trouble with the FBI or not.
Probably you're going to play some more pool in the near future.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have to get a pool table again.
Whoa. Okay, so let's go back. So you managed to lose this 1.5. How do you lose the 1.5?
So, by voting. So,
What?
I had never voted before, and by this point I felt like I was exiled out of New York. I was downsized, living in this tiny house 60 miles north,
Right.
and barely making ends meet. And but then I made this money in this deal, and a friend of mine, my next door neighbor, was running for town council, and he said, "Can you please vote for me? Only 60 people vote in this town." And I said, "Sure, I'll vote." It's the first time I ever voted. 4 days later, I get a letter from the IRS, and the IRS says, the letter says, "We noticed you didn't pay taxes last year for the 17th year in a row," and I had never paid taxes at that point, and so. So I was scared to death. So it was back to Google, like, how can I kill myself?
You are the most brilliant idiot I've ever met in my entire life.
I'm not sure about the brilliant part yet. I'm not sure about
you
the brilliant part.
You never thought that you should pay taxes?
Well,
when you would drive on the
scared.
roads, did you wonder who would pave them and pay for that kind of stuff?
I don't drive either, but that's another story. But
17 years you never paid taxes.
Yeah.
But did you know what they were?
Yes.
And why didn't you pay them?
Well, I was afraid at a certain point. I was afraid, if I pay now, they're going to come back to me for the prior 10, for the prior 11, for the prior 12.
So you just kept not paying.
Right. I kept not paying. I was in avoidance. Okay, and I even would call an accountant occasionally and say, "Am I in trouble?"
This guy is so wild.
I would call an accountant and I would say, "Am I in trouble for this?" And he would say, "Yeah, you gotta file." And I'm like, "All right, I'll call you back in a week." And I would call him back in a year. "Am I in trouble?" And he's like, "You gotta file. You gotta do this." And finally, I got this letter, and so I had to do it. So I called the accountant again, and we worked out a deal.
How much?
Well, I actually forget, but it was basically all my money. So it was like all the money I had kind of put away from that deal.
And then no jail time.
No jail time. Because if you proactively say, "I'm going to pay," and sorry, there was a mistake, and I'm going to pay every dime I owe, plus interest, plus penalties.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "All right, it's free money for us." They found the money. They're not expecting people to pay. So, and it was a good enough sum for them that they were like, "Oh yeah, just bring it over." So I go over
1.5?
Yeah, it was maybe even a little more.
2?
Between 1.5 and 2.
Can you say?
I don't remember is a problem.
Okay, let's
so
say
it was
2.
like traumatizing. I literally am traumatized, like thinking about
You
it.
just came out. You just made your millions again, and the second you make it,
within the next week I voted, and 4 days later I got this letter. So they're all connected. So so I pay. I remember calling my mom, and I was crying. And
do you ever call your mom for not crying things?
No.
That's why she hates you.
It's probably right.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Don't you feel much happier now? Don't you feel like a big weight's lifted off your shoulder?" And I'm like, "No, I had
a $2 million weight."
Yeah, I feel horrible now, and I'm gonna go broke again. And she's like, "You'll feel so much better. Don't worry." And she was just so wrong about that. I was basically depressed for 10 straight years. So this whole time, all I would think about was how I was gonna make money instead of enjoying myself.
Right.
Instead of doing things I love, I would take from the things I love to do more of the things I hate. I hate business. I hate all that stuff.
Right.
Like, running a business is the worst activity in the world.
Right.
Your employees hate you. Your shareholders hate you.
Right.
Your clients hate you.
Yeah.
Everybody hates. Your competitors trash you.
Yeah.
Nobody likes you. Your family drops you.
Yeah.
Nobody likes you.
Yeah.
And I have to keep doing it over and over to survive.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get a job anywhere.
Right.
So, so that was
you're broke
that
again.
was number 2.
That was number 2. Number 3, 10 years later? You have a 10-year gap or no?
No, 3 years later.
3 years later, you come up again.
Yeah.
How?
Well, here's what I did.
Okay, go.
I built.
There was something you wanted to tell me before.
Yeah, I was gonna skip it, but it's actually okay enough that it's not so technical.
Okay.
So I built what I called a MySpace for finance. This is MySpace had just sold for $500 million. I said, okay, I'm going to build a MySpace for investors, and I had some tricky ways of doing it.
So LinkedIn.
I built all the software for it. I did everything. More like I want to be able to see what Warren Buffett's investing, what George Soros is investing in. I want to be able to ask questions to people and have them. I made a whole social network, kind of like a mini Facebook, but just for investors. And then I did a deal with another company where they had to put advertising on every page of my site. So I was profitable from day one. I was making $90,000 a month was the deal from day one. And I said, I'll give you 3% of the company. And they said, no, we'll take 50% of the company. And I said, deal. Because I was making profits from day one. And then the second we
That was
announced
some
our
good
deal.
negotiation right there, James.
Well, I'm a horrible negotiator.
3%. 50. Okay.
I'm
fucking
horrible. I'm not saying I'm
Did
brilliant.
you work that out with the IRS too?
I'm not. This is why I'm not a brilliant idiot. I'm the opposite of that in some way.
Right.
But then the second we launched the site,
Yeah.
I called up Google, AOL, Microsoft, Yahoo, Reuters, Forbes, and a few other companies, and I said, "Hey, we're for sale." The day we launched, and so I visited every single one of these companies, and so then I called my 50% partner, who was TheStreet.com, and I said, "Listen, I'm Google and AOL. They're interested, and I don't know yet about Yahoo, but I have a great relationship with them." Turns out the head of whatever had invested in the same company Arif had invested in, so I had lost all his money. But now we're bridge over water, whatever the expression. So then the 50%, my 50% partner is we can't let 50% be owned by Google. So they bought my 50%. Like within 4 months to the day. TheStreet.com was a public company.
So the original company bought out your 50%.
4 months after we launched.
And you wanted that. That was the goal.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
these meetings that
I
you
hate
set up
running
were
a
fake.
business.
Right. So you wanted out as soon as you could.
The business was real. We had like 1 million users a month,
Right.
month one.
Right.
So, because I arranged with every site that I'm going to be all the articles. Remember, I was writing 10 articles a day.
Right.
Now I was writing maybe 20 articles a day. I had people writing the articles for me.
Right.
I made a formula for it.
Right.
And every article had to have 3 links back to my website. So. And I figured out ways to, do the SEO and all that.
That's what we were discussing earlier. Yeah.
So I was getting 1 million users a month right away, and everybody loved it. And so this company, TheStreet.com, is like, okay, well, we got to buy it. And I said, well, it's going to cost you this. I said, it's going to cost you $30 million. And they're like, nah, it's going to cost us 10. And I said, done. And so 4 months to the day after we launched it, that's what I sold it for.
So you sold it for 10 and you get 50%.
Right. So I had 5.
So now you're back up to 5 again.
Yeah. A little less because I had some partners.
Sure.
So
4.
let's see.
Okay. So you're at 4. Now, you've already lost twice, right? So there's got to be part of it. You don't call your mom, right? You haven't have you called your mom yet?
Not yet,
Mom,
not
we
yet.
made some money.
Not
Everything's
yet.
good. I'm happy. Not yet.
Oh,
right?
no. Yeah, I probably made that call.
You did make
Yeah,
that call.
yeah.
Okay.
I made
Okay.
some happy calls.
Perfect. Okay, that's good. So now you're at 5 again. You're like 4. You're like, listen, I've already made millions and gone broke twice.
Right.
There's no possible way that I could do this. Maybe I should
I think I even quoted, what was the W quote when he landed on the Air Force carrier, the airport with the whatever he said. Okay, we kicked Vietnam. Oh no, the father said this.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, mission accomplished. So I
Mission
thought I had
accomplished.
like
I believe
finally
that's Tom Cruise.
made it back. I was quoting Tom Cruise. So I felt like I'd finally made it back, and it was never going to happen again. And then very quickly.
At any point in time, did you think about developing a business that helps millionaires keep their millions? Because that seems like a really important business.
Yeah. That was my business where I let other people invest in my software. I gave people my software to
Did you
trade
ever
the
think
markets.
about you using that so that you could keep your money?
I did during the financial crisis.
Right.
So, but I didn't do it as much as I should have.
Yeah.
And so that was. I bought a bunch of houses instead during the housing crisis, and
Because you thought that was your next come up.
right. So I bought houses at the peak of the housing bubble, and
At the peak.
Yeah.
So you bought it before.
Let me see. I bought a house in the summer of 2007.
Okay. So now we're going into your third. Now you're in your third millions, and we're about to see you lose it once a fucking again.
Yeah.
I'm starting to be upset at you.
No, I. How do you think I feel? I lived through it. You're making me relive through it.
I love it. I love the pain. But you have no pain. You have no anguish about this because you're back up.
Yeah, I mean, I had enormous anguish then.
Right.
So, I'll describe the scene after I lost it. There's just
Because the third time after you lost it, 3 strikes, you're out. This is great.
Then it's over.
But build me up to where you get it again. So you just make your $3 million on this company.
Right. Then I lost it. Just assume housing crisis, whatever.
You buy a few houses.
Yeah.
Because you for whatever reason having trouble predicting the markets. Usually the best at predicting markets, but you just make a wrong prediction.
I was doing great with the stock market because of the software, but
Right.
just housing, I figured, it probably already is it's probably a good investment. And I started using my brain again.
Yeah,
and you can't do that.
Yeah.
I always tell people, you always have to repeat to yourself every day, I am the stupidest person around. And so I only invest now with people much, much smarter than me. I will never make a decision on myself again.
Really?
With money. Yeah. And that does so anyway, I'm fast forward, I'm losing everything again. I'm getting foreclosed on by everybody. Every agency in the world has got signs up on my house and on my main house that I'm living at. And on top of it, I'm getting a divorce. And
she didn't stay.
Well, I can't say I don't know what the reasons are, but I was getting a divorce.
Right.
And I remember like Thanksgiving that year, I was on this, I was literally on the floor. I was on this hotel room floor at Thanksgiving, and I just wanted to connect with people. I had again, no friends, nobody to call. It's Thanksgiving. So I put this ad on Craigslist, and I said, I totally made something up. I said, I had a bike accident a few months ago, and I was in a coma for months. And when I got out of the coma, I was psychic. So if anybody has any questions for me, feel free to ask. And I gave my email address. And then I go out for a turkey sandwich. It's Thanksgiving. I come back. I had hundreds of emails. I divided them into two files, men, women, deleted this file. And so and then of the women, I divided that into two files.
Right.
One file was, I have a crush on my boss, what should I do? And the other file was everything else. So I deleted the people who had crushes on their boss, and then I started responding to everyone else, many of whom are still Facebook friends with me.
Really?
Yeah. I made a lot of friends that way.
And did you eventually tell them, hey, this was complete bullshit?
Yes, I told every one of them.
Immediately right away, or you answered a few questions and then told them?
I think maybe by the second letter, I always told them. Because they would always guess, you're not really psychic, are you? Because they would always say something, and I'd say something completely off, and like, you're not really psychic. I'm like, no, I just
well, what do you learn about humanity from this?
I think everybody has problems about. This is what I learned, which was very valuable to me on time number 5.
Yeah.
I learned that nobody knows what they want to do with their lives next. Nobody knows where their career is going, and they want to change. Everybody wants to change.
Yep.
Everyone feels somewhat stuck with where they are, with rare exception.
Yep.
And everybody has also had some failure in their past that they're too ashamed to talk about, but they felt comfortable talking about it with a psychic.
Right. So if you can offer them a pathway to success, and you can offer them forgiveness for their failures,
right?
If you can
that was the last one.
If you can offer them destiny, right? I mean, what we're describing really is what religion offers a lot of people, right? It's like, oh, you have no purpose, you have no this. It's like, well, no, you do have a purpose, and everything in your past that you've done that you feel is horrible is forgiven, and
or at least that
it's salvation,
or at least that it's okay that other people that you're hiding this from have also gone through this. That was like the bulk of my emails, and it forced me to look back and say, well, what was working for me every single time on the way up, and what did I stop doing on the way down?
Right.
And what I stopped doing, I stopped, for instance, sleeping 8 hours a day. I stopped getting in shape. I stopped being around good people all the time. Like I had to force myself to really make friends that were real friends. I stopped being creative, and I forced myself to 10 ideas a day. I never skip a day. And I stopped, when things were going down, I tried to control things I couldn't control, like a stock price. Now I give up on the things I can't control, and I assume I can't control anything, and I assume I'm stupid, so I surrender that. Do
you think that there are people that recognize this about humans, and they take advantage of it and monetize it?
Absolutely. So that's why. So I wrote a book about this, and I said this is not a self-help book. This is just my story, and this is what I learned from it.
Right.
I said it's not self-help, and if I put it for sale on Amazon for 99 cents, the cheapest I could possibly do it. And I told people, if you don't like it, I'm going to do something no one's ever done before. I will refund your money. Well, paperback was $9, Kindle was 99 cents, whatever. But I will refund your money no matter what. No questions asked, if you just prove to me that you've read it. I only care if you've read it. And if I just give it to you for free, you're not going to value it, so you won't read it. But if you paid even 99 cents, you'll read it, prove to me you've read it somehow, and I'll give you 99 cents back. And about, so that first month, sold over 100,000 altogether. It sold over, this book Choose Yourself sold over 1 million copies, and that first 3 months, maybe it sold 150,000. I gave it a 3-month window, and maybe 600 people asked for their money back. So less than 1%, like half of 1%.
And did you give them their money
Oh,
back?
yeah. I had an assembly line of like my kids, signing checks and writing out checks, and they're like, "Daddy, I'm tired," and so I had to do the whole thing. But I was a sucker to my kids.
So that's number 4. Come up.
That was number 4, and then I started writing about what was happening to me,
Right?
Because people couldn't believe it. Because some of the stories were
Pretty insane.
I have so many stories that were completely off the wall insane.
Like,
So one time I was raising money for a business.
Yeah.
And this was between times 2 and 3, or 3 and 4, I forget. And my neighbor says, "Oh, come meet my boss. He manages money for wealthy people, and he's a very famous
right.
money manager. Maybe he'll invest in your business."
Right.
And my business was this software that trades the markets.
Right.
And so I went with my friend into work. His boss gives me a tour of the whole facility, and he's like, we sit down in his office. "So James, I really like you. What can I do for you?" And I say, "Well, I'm trying to raise money for this business. I'll invest your money through this software. This is the track record. It's audited by accountants and stuff." And he's like, whoa. I already do that. I'm making more money than you're making on it. And if I don't know where you're really putting the money. You're saying you're doing that with the money. I don't really know where you're putting the money. You could be doing something corrupt or illegal." And he said, "The last thing I need to see is the name of my company, Bernard Madoff Securities, on the front page of the Wall Street Journal." And so he turned me down.
So Madoff refused.
He rejected me. And I said, "How am I ever going to come?" Remember, he worked in the lipstick building on like 53rd Street and
Yeah.
Lex. And I remember thinking to myself, like walking down the steps there, how am I ever going to compete with Bernie Madoff? I can't compete with a guy like this. And literally, friends were calling me up and saying, "We can't figure out how he makes his money. Did you figure it out? Can we invest with him?" Like all these professional guys. And I reminded them later, "You remember you called me when I was on the steps?" And they're like, "No, we never did that. We knew he was a scam all along." And I'm like, "No, you called me. How would I make that up? I remember you called me." And none of them, 3 people called me, all 3 denied it. But I literally quit that industry. I figured I can't compete. And if the guy's got $60 billion to invest, he won't invest like 1 penny with me. And his returns are better than mine. So.
Did you suspect anything suspicious about Madoff?
No. Nicest
Nothing at
guy
all.
in the world.
Well, he must be, right?
I knew an employee working there. There was a legit side to his business, and there was an illegal side to his business. So my friend worked on the legit side, and nobody knew there was the illegal side, and nobody was allowed down on that floor. So because I had this friend who worked there for forever, I knew every inside story there. And my friend tried to work on the illegal side, and Bernie's like, "No, your skills are better here. We'll just leave those guys on the 14th floor to do that." And so my friend quit, fortunately, and moved out of the country and did something else. But that was right after Madoff rejected me.
So do you think that he rejected you because he recognized that your business had value?
Because he had no money in his business.
Right.
So his business was a house of cards.
Yes.
Completely. My business was real. His business had I was making money for people, and his business had $0 in it. So he didn't have money to invest.
Even at that time, no money.
No money.
So any new money coming into the fund was just paying out all these other people.
Yeah.
And do you think there was a point in time where he realized that this wasn't going to be able to sustain itself?
Yeah, at the end.
Just at the end?
Just at the end.
Really?
He was completely delusional. If you see interviews with him now, he still thinks he helped a lot of people make money, and he doesn't understand why he's in jail.
Really?
Yeah. We tried to actually get him on the podcast from jail, and he said no. And I'm thinking to myself, what else are you doing all day long? Like
He's still rejecting you?
yeah, he's still, like Bernie Madoff still presses
He's the
my
one
buttons.
that got away. You fucker.
He still presses all my buttons.
Oh,
I'm really
my
upset.
Lord.
He rejected my
So-
podcast.
So that level of he had a certain level of sociopathy that just allowed him to ignore the realities of his business.
Yeah, I mean, he was really stealing. I mean, like Elie Wiesel, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, survived the Holocaust, invested all his money in Bernie Madoff's fund, and lost all his money. Lost like $14 million with Bernie Madoff.
Really?
Who would take Eli Wiesel's
Yeah, great
money.
writer. Have you read the book Night?
Yeah, of course. Night,
Yeah.
Day, all
Dawn?
his books.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Who would take his money knowing that he was going to lose it?
Fuck. Well, maybe he's thinking, well, I'm just going to give him 10% return on his money or 15 or whatever he was offering every year, so he should be happy. Maybe he's not envisioning that this fund is ever going to dissolve.
I think that's what he was envisioning. But at some point, he was at like 10 billion, 20 billion,
Yeah.
60 billion, 65 billion.
So-
Financial crisis happens. Everyone wants their money back.
Right.
He had to give up. There was no way. And I remember I wrote an article about this for the Financial Times. I was a columnist for the Financial Times then. And some woman from
The idea
Wisconsin.
that you could be given financial advice. Bro, it is mind-boggling.
I
dude.
had-
You
I had-
might be the greatest, like...
I had
You
software
might-
for everything. I
you
knew.
might be the greatest, and I'll say con man for the right reason, con man in history, because you keep on finding ways to get people to let you give them advice when you
Well,
keep going broke.
but
How the fuck?
I was
like,
writing-
even right now, I want you to tell me what to do with money. Why shouldn't be listening to it all? I should be kicking right the fuck out of here.
Well, I hope I've learned something in 20 years, but maybe not.
Right.
I do consider myself stupid about this stuff, so I have
Yeah.
to use
I love the
other
fake
advantages.
humility. I love
no,
it.
it's true. If you
Yeah, yeah.
see,
I'm stupid, and then every once in a while you're about to go to tech, you're like, oh, they're not going to understand that. Anyway,
no, if you saw how I actually invest, you would see I never make a decision. But I call the Warren Buffetts I know
Right.
and say, "What are you doing? Can I tag along?"
couldn't you call Warren? Do you have
No.
Warren's number?
No.
Who's the highest guy you think you have?
I mean, we've had the biggest hedge fund manager in the world's Ray Dalio. He's been on the
Yeah.
podcast. Richard Branson's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
Mark Cuban's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
I have a whole story there from back in the day before his company went public. I've had a ton of. We have a big Rolodex now.
Right. So now these guys, right? My understanding is they're investing in a lot of the things that they're investing in are like sure shots, right?
Yeah, they only will invest in that.
Right. Now, how does something become a sure shot?
Well, everybody's got a different philosophy of that.
Uh-huh.
But let's say,
Like a casino. Is that a
I'll give you an example from me.
Go.
So Facebook was started.
Yeah.
Peter Thiel
Yeah.
was the first investor. He put in $500,000 when it was worth nothing.
Yeah.
So he was almost instantly worth billions from that, even though he'd already
Peter
made money.
Thiel, for anybody who's listening, is the guy who funded the lawsuit on behalf of Hulk Hogan against Gawker magazine. I think it was Gawker.
Yeah.
And then
and you've had Ryan Holiday on the Breakfast Club?
Brian Charlemagne has had Ryan on Breakfast Club. I believe you guys have, right?
Yeah, with his book Conspiracy wrote about that.
Right. So like, yeah. So Thiel, and I think the reason Thiel even funded that is because they wrote an article about him. Gawker wrote an
Yeah.
article about him back in the day.
Outing
So
him.
outing
In
him. That's right. He's a gay
2005.
guy. Right. And so he was like, oh, this is payback. We're going to get Gawker the fuck out of here.
So
And it
Peter's
worked.
been on the podcast, and he's a good chess player, good guy, all around.
Yeah. That's right. you're a
Obsessed with
chess player.
longevity. So
Yeah.
so
It's an overrated game, this chess.
it is.
Fucking dumb.
Computers could beat it. So
What's the point?
there's no point. So it's just I agree with you, but people
Learn how to get pussy. That's way more moves.
That's how I thought. Look at me.
Yeah.
That's how I thought I was going to get it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of joining the chess team.
Yeah.
And
Brooke to night 4. She's going to get moist off this.
and I got obsessed with chess, and literally it's gotten me accepted to every college, every job I've ever had.
Really?
Only chess. I would go to a job interview. I would fail the interview in every possible way, and then they would hire me.
Just because you played them in chess.
Or they knew about my chess or whatever.
Yeah, people put chess on this pedestal.
They
but
do.
like, how many people that are like chess masters are even rich?
Well, I'll tell you, go to Union Square any day on the weekend.
Yeah, they're just homeless guys
Yeah,
with like
it's just
no
almost-
teeth.
and they're chess masters.
Yeah.
So and they're good. So
Yeah.
One time we were driving an Uber the other day. This guy says, "Oh, I play chess for my home country," and I'm like, "Oh, I play chess as well." And I say my ranking, thinking he's going to be impressed.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, well, I'm this," which is like incredible. And he was
driving
he was
Uber.
Turkey's state champion, and
Yeah.
the champion of Turkey at
It's
the
a
year
country.
before. And
Yeah.
he came here and started driving an Uber. And at some point, you can get to a certain level and not spend the next 10 years getting better because it will do nothing for you. But everyone just thinks at a certain level, oh, chess is like a smart game, right? It's totally not. Like,
Great PR, but a waste of time.
yeah, great PR.
Yeah.
I mean, checkers is probably as hard as chess. Poker's harder than chess, I think.
Yeah, but at least invest time in something that's going to like help you get money.
Stand-up comedy is a lot harder than chess. Like, how long have you been doing stand-up comedy?
12, 13 years.
Okay, so by the time I had been doing chess 1 year, I was already at the top in my age group.
Isn't chess just like a Rubik's Cube?
Much
like-
easier.
It's easier than a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's no like 6-year-old Filipinos that can do it.
Yeah, there are.
Play chess?
Yeah. There's some like 8-year-olds who are stronger than me, and I'm
Really?
pretty good. Yeah.
What is your ranking in the world?
So I'm well, I don't know how it's ranked in the world, but in the U.S. I'm a chess master. So I have a
Right.
ranking above the master level.
Really?
And then I stopped playing in tournaments because I never wanted to lose that ranking because I knew that ranking alone
would give you
would get me everything. Whereas this guy kept going to the next higher rank, but that takes another, let's say, it's like getting a PhD. I got like a
Right.
master's degree. He got like the PhD.
Right.
Which is useless in academia and it's useless in chess.
Right.
So, but yeah, people,
It seems like chess and golf are these like great equalizers in the business world. Like you can go play golf and you beat the CEO that you're, golfing with, and all of a sudden he has this immense respect for you. And it's like, how can these people that make such good business deals on a regular basis value something that is completely useless?
because I think people are smart. You can only be smart at like one or two things
Okay.
in your life.
Yeah. I think people overvalue comics in a lot of ways. Like I'll be around people and then they find out that I'm a comic, and we're talking about like guys who fucking, I don't know, own basketball team. Like all of a sudden these guys who have these immensely powerful positions and jobs, and they find out I'm a comic, they're like trying to make me laugh. They're like saying all these jokes. Like they would never act like this in their life.
Well,
but they
I think-
value comedy and humor so much that they've become subservient to me in these social situations.
I think because they're terrified to do it. So it's so far out of their, it's become almost like this BS self-help porn thing to get out of your comfort zone. Like CEOs literally get out of their comfort zone, quote unquote, by going to an open mic. Like that's this big achievement that their
Yeah.
life coach gets them to do.
Right.
And I remember one time
Is that why you did it?
What?
Stand
No.
up? No.
Anyway, one time we
You
read.
haven't failed enough. You're like, I haven't had my emotions squandered enough in my life.
One time I ran into Rachel Brosnahan, who plays Mrs. Maisel on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I said, "Oh, you
I
should
don't
go.
watch it, yeah.
You should go to Stand Up New York and practice anytime you want." And she's like, "Oh no, I'm not doing stand up. I would be too terrified to do stand up."
Right.
She plays a stand up comic on the
TV,
show.
yeah.
I don't think anybody on that show has done stand up comedy.
There are people who I think like consult, and maybe
Okay.
some people who like are part of it. But yeah, no, it's a tough thing, and people really I valued it.
I think it's very tough. It's
I don't think I ever would have done it unless someone asked me to do it.
How did someone ask you to do it?
I was managing a restaurant, and they had a comedy night, and they could tell that I really liked it. I always loved stand up, but I don't know. I just that's why I think it's destiny in a weird way for me, because I was like. It was as if, let's say there is a God. It was as if he put it in front of me, right? And then I still wasn't doing it, and he was like, "Fucking A, what do we got to do to get this guy to get on stage?" So like they basically kind of bullied me into
Right,
doing it.
God forced this restaurant owner to set aside some space
Outside
for a
of
comedian.
that, the way that it even ended up at my restaurant is the owner of the restaurant happened to go to this cafe the day that the cafe was closing, and they had a comedy show, and the people at the comedy show go, "Oh, you own a restaurant? Can we try yours?" Like if he just doesn't go there, it doesn't end up at his restaurant, which I happen to be managing, and then I never see that. Nobody asks me. Like so many random occurrences happen.
But I bet you were a fan beforehand.
Massive. And
So you would have gone
I
up
had
eventually.
so much respect. No, I don't think I would have. I just had so much respect for it that it was just like I wouldn't want to. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't want to taint it in some way. I wouldn't want to.
I mean, I was like a 20-year fan. Like I worked at HBO Comedy.
Right.
I was going to every stand-up show. I was going out to the Aspen Comedy Festival in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I was like immersed in the culture, but I was terrified. It's a terrifying
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
But
You realize that comedy has a lot to do with tragedy, and you hadn't built up enough tragedy in your
yes,
life.
that's totally true.
After your fourth loss of millions
Yeah,
of dollars,
then I could
you're like,
finally
I'm qualified.
right, because then I noticed people. I would write. So I was writing every day. I would write this.
Got a
super,
great blog. Great blog. You can look up James Altucher.
Yeah.
Altucher?
Yeah, it's like I'll touch her fast. Altucher.
Altucher.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
.com.
have a Me Too in your name.
So I would write these really depressing stories, what I
Yeah.
thought were depressing stories, and and then I'd tweet it out, like, and people on Twitter were like, "Oh, that's the funniest thing I've ever
Yeah,
read."
it's great.
So I had humor, like, suddenly in my writing and my public speaking, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I just started doing stand up too, but which is a whole different skill. But it's definitely the hardest skill I've ever had to learn.
Really?
Harder than investing, harder than...
Why?
Because there's a lot more micro skills you have to learn. You have to know what a premise and a punchline is and how to write it.
Yeah.
And then you have to be able to do act outs, which is a whole other skill. You have to have stage presence, which is different than crowd work. You have to know what you're doing on stage and even how to hold the mic. And then you have to see the audience in a different way than public speakers see the audience. You see every single person in the audience and you know who to talk to. And even if the lights are blaring at you, somehow stand-up comics see everybody in the audience and know what they're thinking.
Right.
And so and I'm not glorifying it like that. You learn, that's a micro skill. You learn that experience. It's a spectrum, but so you get part of the way there.
Right.
And then you have to be able to tell stories, but still have stand-up elements in it, enough laughter. You have to surprise people. You have to be a performer. There's so many different skills.
Right.
With investing, here's my investing strategy now. Oh, Peter Thiel's investing in your company? Fit me in. That's my only strategy.
Yes. Yeah.
And that works.
But they're similar in that there's one outcome that is successful.
Yeah.
Like in investment, it doesn't.
Right, but that's why I'm saying. But
how does it
the
make
outcome's
money?
similar,
Yeah.
but comedy's the harder skill because you can't have the successful outcome
Oh, there's
if you
a lot
can't
more
do crowd work, for instance.
Yeah, there's a lot more, people in finance than there are in stand-up comedy. There's a lot more successful people in finance. So you go to any nightclub in New York City, you're going to find a bunch of finance guys who are there. There's a handful of people who make a living doing stand-up. It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Right. There's 5,000 working comics in the U.S., and I would say maybe a few hundred make a living. But all 5,000 keep doing it.
But check this out, right? I think there's more than 5,000, I would think.
Maybe I think there's
5,000?
1,000 in New York, 1,000 in L.A., and I'm assuming 3,000 for the rest of the country.
And you're talking about full-time.
Full-time. Well, meaning they have other jobs, and they do stand-up 3 sets a night or more.
Okay, let's say 5,000. We can even double it. We can even double it and say 10,000.
Netflix will do 50 specials this year, tops.
Right.
And they're only paying, I say only, but unless you're like Dave Chappelle or whatever, they're paying basically between 1 and 300,000, maybe less.
Right.
Because they're doing these series now where they're pretty much not paying anything.
Right. But I think that when you come down, you really calculate it. Like even globally, we're talking about under 1,000 people making a living doing stand-up comedy. It's like athletes that we put on the highest pedestal. There's thousands of them making a living.
Right. Well, but
thousands,
look at it. You have to. Any time you want to make money, if that's your goal,
this is the more unique skill, right?
Yeah. Well, the unique skill there is you don't want to convince your comedy audience to be rich. You want to go where there's a rich audience. So that's how you make money. So take Warren Buffett. You could put anyone in his job right now, and that guy is going to make money because just every day the interest on the trillions in insurance makes money. So you have to go where the money is. And I just want a tiny, tiny piece of it, please.
Right.
And
but
that's how you make money.
You're saying there's more money in sports. The audience is more wealthy in sports.
Yeah, because how many people watch the Super Bowl, for instance?
So what makes an audience rich is just quantity. There's just way more sports fans
quantity
than there are.
Or rich people transferring their money from their pockets to your pocket.
Right. But in this circumstance where...
You have neither. Comedy.
Yeah, comedy doesn't have enough fans, and the fans aren't the billionaires who are just willing to pay you tons of money.
Yeah, and I think though your approach is right with club comedy. There isn't enough fans, and the fans don't have money. But YouTube, you're taking your YouTube clips and you're getting 30 million views on YouTube. That's where you're getting the larger audience, so you can make the money.
Right.
That's the direction.
Well, the
where
idea
it's
is
going.
is twofold, right? It's like not only give the content to the people, it's also create fans. So that's why what we're doing for comedy, I think, is very valuable because there are people who have never been fans of comedy and they're seeing a YouTube clip pop up and they're going, oh, I really like stand-up. And then they're watching other stand-up. So I don't know what we've done to grow comedy. I don't know how many times we've grown it or whatever, but I feel very confident that there are a lot of people who never listen to comedy or never watch comedy, and now because of YouTube, they're going out to not only my shows, other people's shows.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because people pass around clips. Look, I think Louis C.K. only got super mainstream big in 2007, 2008 because people were sharing the YouTube clips.
100%.
So I don't even know why traditional TV continues that model. It's sort of like a slowly declining model.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you're too invested to pull out. You're pot committed in poker, I think they call it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I got to go all in.
Right.
because I'm already lost unless
Yeah,
I
they've
don't.
spent the past 20 years of their careers investing in this one industry.
You've been around famous people and like celebrities, right? Okay, so have you ever?
I'm sitting across from one
No,
right
no,
now.
no,
What are you
no,
talking
no,
about?
not a celebrity, but have you ever noticed that they're the last people to realize that they've fallen off?
I'm trying to think because
Like if you go up to any rapper that was popular in the 90s, they still think they're popping.
yeah,
Like Ja Rule still thinks he's Ja Rule.
Okay, one time I had Biz Markie on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I said to him, so, how do you feel that Just a Friend is the main song people know? And he's like, I've done many more songs than Just a Friend.
And you're like,
and
wow.
I said, no, if I even go to your website, I load your website and it starts playing Just a Friend. Like, that's the only song anyone. If you go to China and say, what do you think of Biz Markie? They'll start singing Just a Friend.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I do Yabba Dabba Doo on Nickelodeon or whatever the show is.
Yeah.
And he hung up on me.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is they don't want to admit the reality that they're living in, right? And I think a lot of times people in entertainment, even my agents and stuff at my agency, they're clueless. I try to tell them. Like I had a meeting with all of them and I said, guys, it's over. Like you're in a business that no longer exists. You're selling these sitcoms. They don't happen anymore. And they're like, no, we should work on a deal. Like, I don't know what to tell. I don't know what else to tell
But I bet you still have a tour agent, like to sell tickets and to book
Yeah,
venues.
that's my agent.
Right, because
We do great business because everything is live experience now.
right because YouTube videos give you the taste. That's why nobody watches more than a minute on any of these Netflix specials, or more
Yeah.
than 2 or 3 minutes on any of these Netflix specials.
Yeah.
YouTube gives the taste, but then people will pay for a live experience, which is why I hate stand-up comedy where the person's just standing up there, not moving, and telling jokes. I can get that already on YouTube.
Right.
When you're in an audience, the audience wants to be involved somehow. You have to create you can't just tell jokes. You have to create an experience, which
has
is the
to be
other thing
more
that
than
makes
that.
comedy difficult.
Yeah.
Because most comedians do not know how to make an experience.
It has to be a live show. Has to be a show. It's like, I mean, there's a reason I think so many people have been coming out to our tour, and I think it's because they're seeing the clips that we post every single week. They're like, what a fucking. There's a service dog at the show. Like every unique experience
A
that
woman
happens.
passes out in your show and you spend 15 minutes
Yeah.
not only making fun of it, but then making fun of the heckler.
And eventually they start to go like, hold on, every week, these aren't like random. Every week a different thing happen. A guy with an underage girls in the front row, like every week, and they're like, oh shit, that is part of this live experience at one of his shows. He's gonna somehow find the random thing in that audience,
Right.
and bring it out.
Which is also a skill, and I think a lot of comedians don't have that skill.
I'm the best. You're right.
That is a hard skill.
No, but I agree with you. Having that live experience and giving them something unique is so valuable. It's interesting that you find stand up. It's interesting that you find it and you find it difficult and like
I've built businesses, I've invested successfully. I've invested, by the way. It's not all been bad.
Yeah.
And written books, written tons of software and built companies. Stand up is by far the hardest skill I've had to learn.
And maybe that's
it's
why you stick
bit
at
by
it.
bit. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's why I think I was drawn to it, is that it changes. I can't predict this. Like with basketball, I love basketball, but the only thing that I have to handle is the person guarding me. And even that I can change, right? I can call for a pick, I can get a weaker defender on me, and then I can get to the basket, right? That's the only obstacle that I can't truly control. And I can control a little bit, but the rim is 10 feet, right? The ball's the same size. With comedy, I think the reason I was so excited by it is that the fucking rim changes height and the ball changes size every time you walk on stage.
Right, and I think you see a lot of comedians are afraid of that. And so they instantly
try to
close
mitigate,
up as soon as
yeah.
the crowd, if you let the crowd take over, the crowd is in charge now. And you
Yeah.
can't allow that for even a split second.
Yeah.
So, but and the other
That's
thing.
what people don't realize. Like when we bully a heckler, like you're doing that to sustain your respect. It's almost like you're like some tribal leader in the jungle.
Right.
And someone checks your authority and you got to hang him by his balls in front of the rest of the tribe so everybody knows, hey, I'm still the leader.
Right,
Don't.
you have to do that, and tribal is the right word. Like, let's say the crowd is divided into 2 tribes.
We
One
can't
likes the
have it.
heckler, the other doesn't.
Yeah.
You have to do tribe building. You make so.
I just kick out the whole rest of the
or
tribe.
you'll talk to the girlfriend and you say, "Are you really like gonna
We
have
gotta
sex
put
with
up
that guy?"
Clip. We got to put up. Yeah, there was a clip in I think Indianapolis where I think 15, 16 people I just kicked out of the show. It was, and there wasn't that many people.
That's
on
great
the
because
show.
that's an experience.
Yeah,
Getting
it
kicked
was
out is
fun.
an experience.
Yeah.
Watching the person get kicked out is an experience. The club's having fun kicking people out, maybe.
Yeah. I got the best response from a heckler I've ever gotten.
What?
So I kicked this one kid out for talking. This one girl gets upset that I kicked him out. She's just like this white woman savior thing because the kid was Puerto Rican or something. I don't know. Fucking is. He's drunk the whole fucking time, but she was just being an idiot. And so she goes, "We're leaving." I'm like, "Fuck it, you get out of here," right? And then there were like 8 people in her party, so they all start leaving. I was wearing this Coca-Cola pullover, right? And as the guy's walking out, the last guy in the group to like leave the table, he looks at me, he goes, "Hey, Pepsi." Bro, there was nothing I could say.
Wait.
There was no comeback whatsoever.
Wait, what did you, so did the crowd start laughing then? Or?
No, they didn't even hear it. It was just me and him, and I heard it. I was like, what'd he say? And then I realized I was wearing the Coca-Cola shirt. I had forgot. I was just in a rage. I was kicking people out left and right in the show. And then he goes, Pepsi. And I was like, what? Is this like a Southern thing I don't know about? Like, is that how you call me gay or some shit? Like, I don't know what this means. And I realized I was wearing a Coca-Cola pullover, and was after the show, I was like, oh my God, that guy burned me.
That's
What do
funny.
you say to that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I just come back with another brand? Fanta.
Zima.
It's just name association at
Yeah.
this point.
Saying that is funny.
Yeah, it was just nuts.
There's one thing I want to ask you. There's one
Yeah,
thing
please.
you do that a lot of other comedians, I don't see them do. I think a lot of comics go what I call club comedy safe.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna do their solid material, their premise, punchline.
Yeah.
They might not say anything interesting, but it'll be classically funny. So they're safe to book because the audience will laugh. I think you do something a little different, which is you do what I call putting the question to the audience. So at first, you come up with something outrageous,
Right.
and the question the audience has to decide: is he a bad guy or a good guy? Are we going to go along on this ride or are we not? Like you might
Right.
say something like, "My mom's not a racist,"
Right.
or
I'll give you a premise
you
that
know,
I'm
well,
working on.
how about those 2 fucking kids from that Leaving Neverland documentary?
Right.
Like, whoa, but then by the end of the joke, you've turned it around. So again, the audience doesn't know if you're a good guy or a bad guy. But instead of saying, is he a bad guy or a good guy, they're saying, is he a good guy or a bad guy?
Yes. Yeah, I kind of like to push you away with the premise, and then I like the premise to in a way to kind of test your like moral compass, and then I like the punchlines or the execution of the joke to kind of bring you back.
Which is a risk, right? So
Yes, but that's how I trust the laugh, because I know I could get you to laugh at shit you agree with. Right? Can I get you to laugh at something you don't agree with? Then the joke is really funny.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, do you like the flavor of this dessert, or do you just like sugar? You know when like a chef makes a meal out of like a parsnip or something shitty, but they get you to be like, oh my God, this is delicious
Yeah.
parsnip. That's the chef going, yo, I'm nice.
Yeah.
Anybody can make chocolate good. How do I make parsnip good?
But I think it's also delivery too.
Sure, no, there's
Yeah.
other aspects. I'm saying like, what is the like the reason behind it?
Yeah.
Like there's a bit right now that I kind of want to work on, but it's this bit about like separating the kids at the border, right? So here's a topic you shouldn't talk about, and the joke is like, the joke is reverse engineered. So I go, you remember like, you know, McDonald's, remember you have that little playpen and you got the little cage and there's the ball pit, and you know, kids go in a cage and a ball pit and you are separated from your kids and everybody's fine. And then everybody relates to it. They feel like this good feeling. And I was like, that's how we fix the border. And they're like, what? They're like, you know, those kids in cages, we just put balls in there. They'll have the time of their life. That's a fun trip to America, right? So now people are like, this is funny, but this is fucked up because I got these images of the border, right?
So you're going to get some gasps in the audience.
But I want that.
Right. You want the energy.
I like the sickos that are with me and they're on board, but I also like pushing against the tension of the people that aren't.
So how do you bring that one around?
You have to be undeniably funny about it, and
Yeah.
you have to operate in a silly, cartoonish way. So like the reality can be, you know, stark and fucked up and harsh, but the punch has to be, I think, silly and cartoonish. You know what I mean? So I have to make that joke. There's different ways I can go about it. I can go about like we're just preparing them for America. Like that's what people do with their kids here, right? It's like, You send them to boarding school. You know, you send them to camp. Like, we love separating our kids. That's just what we do. I can even make it like a white thing, and that would make it a little easier.
Yeah.
White parents love separating
You bring it back
their
to
kids.
yourself in a lot of the jokes.
Exactly, right? So, like, but that is the fun part. Like, the challenge to me is nobody says I can write a joke about separating kids at the border, and this is the biggest hot button topic, and you can't do it. What's the funny take on it? And then how do I turn it into an idea that's bigger than itself?
So what then leads to the thought of, okay, when I was a kid, I loved the McDonald's playpen.
That's just how does it even happen? I mean, matter of fact, I think what happened, we were in
Burger King.
Columbus. No, we were in St. Louis, and we were at this museum thing, and there was literally a cage there with ball pits inside it. It was
And
an
kids
outdoor
in them.
museum, and kids playing and having a fucking time of their life.
So see, that's another skill too. Is the skills don't just happen when you're writing or on the stage. You're observing, like,
Observation, constantly.
I'm connecting the dots. These kids are like the kids on the border,
Constantly, 100%.
which is a weird connection of the dots. That's a skill.
100% constantly. Like, it was happening even like flagrant too. We were talking about reparations, the reparation argument. And then we were talking about Native Americans getting the casinos. And Mike Kaz goes, Native Americans got the casinos. And I go, and they fucked that up. I was like, they ruined reparations for you. To me, that's a fun argument. You know, if like casinos had worked, you know, apparently a bunch of these Native Americans got the casinos and they bankrupt them, and then they had to hire a bunch of guys who understand casinos to actually make the money. So it was like, but if they had killed it with the casinos, this would be the model. So it's funny to blame another historically oppressed group for
But that's another
reparations.
technique you do a lot, which
Right.
is you find two things unrelated and you make them
comedy.
metrics.
That's comedy, though.
But like a really good one was, and this is where you do you bring it full circle.
Yeah.
You're you believe gender equality is fine, look at the places with the best food. You know, no one is saying, "Hey, let's go out for some Canadian tonight." They go to the Middle East, where Middle Eastern restaurants they cut off hands. But then you bring it around full circle. It's like and maybe I'm combining jokes, but in the U.S. we say to women, "You can't drive," and in Saudi Arabia says,
"Don't say that
you
one. Don't
can't."
say that one.
All
Don't
right.
say that one. That's part of the new tour."
But you bring it around in that way where and you're using these odd metrics of gender. You use this odd metric of gender equality, and then you bring it around.
That's where the funny is for me. I don't understand like people who like make shit funny that is agreeable. I don't even understand it. I don't even think it's like really funny.
So you said once on a podcast
Just odd.
where if you don't like it if anyone starts off a joke, women are smart because you think they're pandering to women.
100%.
Any pandering, we're using women here, but any pandering, you use the
What's
phrase.
the point of it?
But then that's why I texted you. And I said, okay, did the same type of mindset you were just doing. I said, okay, what could make that not pandering? And women are smarter at killing themselves.
Oh yeah, I like that, right? So like you can fake pander and then flip.
Right.
Like there's jokes that I have that like I'll set it up like it's like really supportive of a group, and then I'll take the carpet right out from under you. But like that's funny. Your bit about the what was it again?
Well, women attempt it 6 times more than men, but they fail like men will actually kill themselves 3 times more than women.
We're
Men
better
are really
at them
stupid.
than that too. We're better at them than that too.
Well, they're smarter at living.
They're smarter at living.
Right.
Yeah. But they're worse at killing themselves. Why won't they kill themselves?
Well,
Just kill yourself.
they if you shoot yourself in the head, which is the most
Their wrists aren't
easiest
strong
way.
enough?
No, you can live and you'll be
What?
you'll shoot off half your face.
Right.
You'll have one eye, one ear, your whole jaw.
Oh,
will be
their
messed up for
vanity
life.
keeps them alive.
So they take drugs or go in a bathtub or whatever.
Why
and
do they
men
always
shoot
have to be in
themselves.
the
Women
bath?
don't shoot themselves.
I think women just want to be clean. I think it's just. I don't even think they
That
want to
solves
kill
all their
themselves.
problems.
Yeah, they just want to be. I think they
Maybe I
get.
should take a bath first.
They may get in the bath thinking they're going to kill themselves, and they're like, "I really like this lavender bath bomb." Like that, just really.
I better
Dude, you
take
know how
off the
many-
plastic hood.
Sephora have saved so many lives. Think about that. I think that'd be a good marketing campaign for Sephora.
We save lives.
Yes, it's
Just
like
do
you're
it.
about to get into the bath and slit your wrists, but then you realize these bubbles are divine.
You should
Brought to
almost
you
make
by
that
Sephora.
commercial for fun.
We should absolutely do a marketing campaign for Sephora about women about to kill themselves, and then the bubbles are just so relaxing. The candles.
Yeah, meanwhile, her husband is like in the other room with like a hood hanging and a gun.
That's what we do. We hang. But how much of that hanging shit is just dudes whacking off?
I don't know.
Because I think that there's like that autoerotic asphyxiation thing.
I mean, I think
You never tried that when you lost $1 million?
No.
You're telling me you lost $4 million. You're like, I'm not going to choke myself and whack off?
I was in the fetal position. The last thing I was going to do was I was like...
Were you trying to suck your own dick?
No. I was like,
the only joy I can get.
I didn't want joy. I was not looking for that.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, I was down. I was down and out.
But you were a real woman about committing suicide, bro.
I know. I was more calculating. I wanted my kids to get a life insurance policy,
The right amount.
So I had to, and I couldn't figure it out how to do it because even like certain poisons, if they spend the time, they'll find it in your system.
Oh, you were going to go for poison.
I was anything that worked. I was gonna try
This
to
is
do.
real old school. This was like medieval.
I couldn't. I actually did find one thing that was safe and worked. I found some instances where it might not be, where they might be able to figure it out. But there was anyway. I told it on stage once, and my lawyer was in the audience, and he said, "You cannot use that joke anymore."
Why?
Because if somebody goes home and
tries
kills
to do
themselves,
it.
yeah,
Oh,
shit. They could just sue for the heck of it.
Oh,
their
shit.
family, rather.
That's right. That's right. You could be like Metallica or whatever those rock bands were that were like saying to kill themselves, and then the kids did it. Yeah, don't kill yourself. I mean, if you can. Yeah.
Clearly, it never works.
Do you ever get used to losing millions of dollars?
No.
Every time it's
Every
raw.
time it's like, how did this happen again? Like, I remember one time being on a hammock in between two houses I owned, and the hammock was strung up, and it was just started raining and pouring, and I was just like, how did I get to zero again? And now it's just raining, and I'm losing these two houses, and I'm getting a divorce. And then the next day I went to the city and put an ad on Craigslist.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Did we get to your fourth time?
There was like a fourth, a fifth.
This is your fifth.
So right now, yeah, right now I've done a good job investing, and that's really saved the day. Because I don't make any decisions myself.
Because you just go with the rich guys and wherever they get.
Yeah, if basically, and I know a lot of smart people, they're a lot smarter than me, and I see how hard they work.
Right.
And I say, and I've seen over 20 years, because I've known these people for a long time. I see over 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
This guy's done a good job.
I'll trust him, and I'll put my money where he's putting it. That's smart. I have a question just about this big money investment. Somebody was telling me that like there are certain investments that these banks only offer prime candidates or something like that, and this is how like the real elite continue to make money. So like Goldman will say, "Hey, we need to raise $1 billion. Would you like to lend us?"
Yeah.
Now, why would a company like Goldman need to raise money? I thought they have all the money.
But their business, well, actually, you said they're partly fund. So half of Goldman will do that deal, and half will offer it to their clients.
And then they'll go, "Hey, do you want to get into this deal that's a guaranteed?"
Yeah.
And now, why is it guaranteed? Because they have a contract with the government or something like that.
Let's say
It's like I'm talking about the safest money bets. What are these?
Okay, I'll give an example.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a huge company in China. You're the biggest chair manufacturer in China.
Right.
And Walmart says, okay, we'll take 1 million chairs for all of the stores. They need chairs. And the chair company's like, okay, send us the money and we'll send you the chairs. And Walmart's like, send us the chairs and we'll send you the money. And you're from China. We're not going to trust it. Somebody has to lend money to the chair manufacturer to send it to Walmart. And 3 days later,
Walmart money to the Walmart so they could send it to the chair manufacturer.
Well,
right?
Walmart will now send it to the lender with interest.
Ah.
And so you can make a ton of money like that if you have the money. And those are the deals that...
Because Walmart's paying his bills.
Right. Walmart's paying its bills. Saudi Arabia is paying its bills. So if you have oil from...
So the way to make money is lending really rich, successful people money.
Right. And if they're not in that model. So like the big company in China could afford to send the chairs, but they're just not in that business.
Now, why wouldn't a bank just do this? Why would a regular investor be able to get into it?
Because banks, what they love is mortgages. They love 30-year mortgages. They're reliable. They package up those mortgages and sell them to billionaires.
Right.
So they get them off the books. But banks are not in that business. Everybody's in their own business. Everybody's in their lane.
Gotcha.
So some guys are in that business of doing these loans for 2 days where they make like 2% in 2 days, which is like 150% annualized. So it's a massive business. Or there's other things
and that's
too.
how the rich really continue to make money without doing anything, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's happening that. Here's the other thing too.
Guaranteed money.
Here's another thing too. Let's say this is hypothetical. Let's say you're Mark Zuckerberg, and you don't want to send a message to the market, "Hey, I'm dumping all my shares," but you kind of want to sell your shares. It's worth $50 billion. You kind of want to sell $20 billion worth of shares. There's a way to do it without anyone knowing that the bank hides it. So he basically bets. What Mark Zuckerberg does is he says, let's say I'm going to hypothetically say Facebook's 100. Mark Zuckerberg's going to say, "I'm fine if it goes as low as 80, but and you could take it from me if it goes to 103. So he gets 3 points on the upside. He has 20 points on the downside. The bank will sell that deal to another rich person or an insurance company because that's a form of insurance. They'll sell that to an insurance company, and then Mark Zuckerberg, it's as if he sold all his shares at 80 without selling any shares because the lowest he can go is 80, and then the insurance company has to take it. So then he can borrow money as if he had sold at 80, as if that cash was in the bank.
And he doesn't have to pay tax on it because he's borrowing the money.
Right. Not until he actually sells, which he never has to sell because he could constantly make those bets. He'll say it's a 5-year bet. And in 5 years, either he doesn't have the shares because the insurance company took it, or he still has the shares because the stock hasn't moved, and he just does the bet again.
So as long as he keeps his stock over 80, he doesn't have to sell anything.
Yeah, or lower than 103.
And so is he incentivized to keep that stock in a certain range? For example...
No, I mean... I'm using him as an extreme example. He probably has other ways that are even more imaginative than I'm thinking of.
So people are just making up money.
Yeah.
They're just printing money out of nowhere.
So if you're the CEO of a company that goes public, and let's say your stock is worth $10 million, and let's say you never had cash for, you'd like to cash out. Yeah. But if you sell the stock, all your shareholders are going to freak out. So it's a smaller company than Facebook.
Right.
Mark Zuckerberg's too big.
Yeah.
But you're not. So you're 10 million. This is the chunk you want. Your company just went public, but you don't want to freak anybody out.
Right.
This is the technique you would use.
This is how you get out.
And nobody would ever know. You're not allowed. You don't have to disclose it. If you sell shares, you have to disclose it. Oh, the CEO's selling shares. That's a newsworthy event. The news is not aware that what the other thing is also a newsworthy event. So they never ask for this to be a newsworthy event.
So Mark Zuckerberg could have sold a quarter of his shares.
He could have sold all of them by now.
Or done. Oh my God!
We don't know. I'm being clear that he probably hasn't, but that's how a lot of CEOs get out of their stock without anybody knowing. Guaranteed. You know, when the first time
How is that not illegal? I should be able to know if I'm an investor if the CEO wants to get out.
I think it should be a newsworthy event. A company is supposed to disclose every newsworthy event. That's the law. But everybody has said everybody has winked and said that's not newsworthy because everybody working for the SEC wants a job at the banks, and banks take huge fees off these kinds of deals. So the SEC is like, we're okay with that. Goldman, you okay with that? I'm okay with that if you're okay with that.
So SEC is in cahoots.
They might be. But they're basically saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not a newsworthy event, and not as many people as you think do it. Wink, wink. They all do it. The day after I sold my first company, every single bank, I had like 5 meetings at Goldman. Every single bank called me because they saw my names in the filings. This guy just sold his company. He probably never had money before, and he probably wants to get rid of his shares without anybody knowing. That's what they think. So I got every phone call from every bank, and at Goldman, of course, I met, and then we did do that a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, and then I took all that cash and lost it.
This is fourth?
That was the first.
That was first.
Yeah.
I have to. I want to take one break for a second. I use the bathroom, and I want to finish your fifth time on the come up, and we'll leave on the come up.
All right.
Is that cool?
All right. Yeah.
Okay, James, we're gonna take a break for a second, pay some bills here. I'm very excited about this next one. Because it happens to be my favorite ice cream of all time, Ben & Jerry's. Okay, don't at me. If you don't like Ben & Jerry's, you don't like ice cream. Simple as that. The most delicious, the best flavors, the best mixtures. I can't believe that we got them on the podcast as a sponsor. I'm not going to lie. I know that we should be talking higher about ourselves, but I cannot believe it. My favorite Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavor of all time, oatmeal cookie chunk. Now, this is hard to get. Have you tried oatmeal cookie chunk? I got Dwayne. I got my ice cream expert right here to talk about this Ben & Jerry's. Oatmeal cookie chunk, it is I believe, cinnamon base, oatmeal cookies in it, and chocolate chunk. It is unreal. Unreal. Also, chocolate fudge brownie.
Which I had the other day. Amazing. I also had the half-baked
Yeah,
flavor?
half baked solid.
Oh
half
my
baked
God.
solid. Half baked
I
solid.
just had that. I cannot get over it.
No, it's not a game. You got to do it. I mean, this is the only thing. Listen, Ben and Jerry's is the only ice cream where I have to choose the size of the thing that I buy because I'll eat it all. So sometimes they have those like little ones. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
They're not the
the
pints. They're like a
the
one
smaller
serving
pints,
size. It's like
yeah.
one scoop.
Yeah.
I have to one scoop unless I have someone with me because I'll just polish off the whole pint. Love Ben and Jerry's. Can't believe they're a sponsor. I'm expecting lots of deliveries, Ben and Jerry. I'm expecting lots of deliveries right to the crib. I need oatmeal cookie chunk. Simple as that. That is my favorite flavor. You send me oatmeal cookie chunk, I will give you the greatest ice cream video eating promo that you've ever had in your life. I'm bringing it to the podcast. I'll find a way to have it cold and here on the podcast, and I'll devour that pint throughout a whole episode. I think I could polish off the pint whole episode. Anyway, point is, you got to treat yourself, okay, to your favorite flavor. Anywhere ice cream is sold, go off our suggestions, of course, but you go to benandjerry.com. That's BENJERRY.com. Find your favorite flavor. Go gobble that up. This episode is also brought to you by Squarespace. Turn your dream into a reality with Squarespace. Squarespace makes it easier than ever to launch your passion project, whether you're looking to start a new business, showcase your work, publish content, sell products, and more. Squarespace is the tool for you. With beautiful templates created by world-class designers and the ability to customize just about anything with a few clicks, you can easily make a beautiful website yourself. And if you do not have a website, you do not have a business. It is simple as that. Squarespace's powerful e-commerce functionality lets you sell anything online. If you have a business, you might want to sell something, so get that e-commerce popping. And analytics help you grow their site in real time. Find out who's going to your site. Find out who's buying things. Find out who's not. Find out who you can market towards. Everything is optimized for mobile right out of the box, and there's nothing to patch or upgrade ever. Buying domains is simple, and you'll get the help you need with Squarespace's 24/7 award-winning customer support. Squarespace empowers millions of people, from designers to lawyers, artists to gamers, and even restaurants and gyms to turn great ideas into something real. Head to squarespace.com/idiot for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code IDIOT to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/idiot. Offer code IDIOT. All right, let's get back to the show. Okay, we're back. I had to use the bathroom.
Wait, I want to ask one more thing about
Please,
comedy.
yeah. Well, we could do more about comedy. I just want to make sure we conclude your story. But yeah,
Well,
talk about
just the
comedy
way I
all day.
described your set says like you start off as a bad guy, then they have to figure out if they're going along with it.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Jeselnik, correct me if I'm wrong, does the exact opposite.
Yeah.
In his premises, he has a little slower delivery. He's not performing as much, although he is performing in his own way. His first line always sets him up as a good guy.
Yeah.
And then and then he pauses, and then the punchline is he's the worst.
Yeah.
But the audience is set up to like him and know that it's a joke, so it's
a word puzzle. Also, like I think that whether they like him or not really doesn't matter because it's dependent on the joke itself. So like what he does is like shows you pictures, right? Like he's a gallery, essentially, right? So he's giving you a tour of the gallery. Here is this gallery. Here's this picture, joke, whatever about abortion. Here's this joke about incest. Here's this joke about whatever. And he's just the conduit to the jokes because he's not in the joke.
Right.
You're not learning about Anthony or his opinions on the world. It's a word problem that he's giving you with a misdirect at the end. And the entire time as an audience member, you're like, can I figure out the misdirect? Who's the killer? Right? You're watching one of those shows and you're trying to find out who the murderer is at Scooby-Doo. Who's the person
during
who's
that
really
pause,
doing it?
You're always trying to figure out
Where's he going?
How is he going to twist this in a really dark way?
And very few people do it better than Anthony.
Because his delivery too is
the problem with that is that I think there's a limit to how long you can watch that.
Yeah,
So
like Stephen Wright, for instance, is very hard to watch for an hour.
Exactly. Like you watch those guys for 15 minutes, you're like, this is the most entertainment thing I've ever seen. Half an hour, you're like, that was a good show. Hour, you're like, when you talk to someone for an hour, I think you need to feel like you're talking to them.
Right.
Like,
right. You need to know.
It becomes more about the connection you have to human.
You don't talk about like your bio as much as these are issues I think about that society thinks about. Here's a different way I look at this.
Yeah, that's how I've always reflected to the world. Maybe I just don't think that I'm that interesting.
My
life. I haven't lost millions of dollars multiple times.
Well, is you don't want to. It's
Yeah,
not
fair enough.
But
I can't wait.
But where is the struggle? Like, do you think struggle is a part of comedy? Like, where is the struggle? Your struggle, it seems to me,
Sure.
if I was gonna say, is to help society interpret. You're struggling with society's interpretation of a third rail topic. You're struggling with that and trying to figure it
Sure.
out.
Yeah, or maybe I don't know. Maybe I just enjoy the troll. I think I've always enjoyed that.
But I think the persona, which is not,
Sure.
is like, I don't know. Like the mom joke.
Or I really know about something that's wrong.
Right.
Like I'm really aware and I know it's wrong and I'll lean into that. But I think when you're talking about society's third rail, like you're talking about a topic, I like to take a topic that everybody thinks they know how to feel about. Trump grabbing pussy. Everybody feels like we're on the same page, right? Society, we can agree that's wrong. And then I love making you feel like it isn't. It's just a fun exercise for me.
Right, and then I feel part of that process is you do bring yourself into it at some point.
Can't give away my new bits, bro.
Right,
Can't give away the new bits.
So what do? You just make a list of all. Here's the 50 third rail topics in the U.S.
So
right now.
what is affecting me? What is bothering me? What is like? What do I see some logical fallacy in? What can I see some angle in? And I think my struggle is I can look at a situation kind of objectively, right? And I choose comedy as a way to like show the objectivity about it. But like I can look at something and go, okay, I understand why they did that, or I understand why they said that. I understand this, that, the other, and from there, you can't just tell people, what do they say? If you want to tell someone the truth, you got to make them laugh or else they're going to kill you. So it's like, okay, let's make a funny device for this. And maybe that's why I developed humor my whole life. And in reality is like, I just kind of had these like obscure views about things. And I was like,
And you
I
didn't
better
want
make
people to beat the
laugh.
shit out of you.
Yeah, I better figure out how to fucking make some chuckles off of this shit.
So Dave Chappelle, he's roughly a storytelling comic.
Yeah.
And he'll tell some stories from his real life. Other things he'll kind of half make up.
Embellish, yeah, sure.
But they're always interesting. Like he's
Comedy should be lies, man. People act like it should be truth. It should be fucking lies. It's like all great art is lies. What's the lead singer of Queen?
Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, Freddie Mercury was singing about fat bottom girls while he was sucking guys' cocks. So it's a lie. Right. So it's like, but that song's fucking great, right?
Settle an argument with me and he who shall have no name over here.
Who, Steve?
Yeah.
I mean, even Seinfeld said it. He's like, there's no truth. It's not
Okay,
truth.
the Village People.
Yeah.
Gay or not?
They better be gay. You're telling me they're straight?
The lead singer is married to Felicia Rashad, or was married to her. Now he's married to someone else. But the lead singer was the only musician in the band, and he's straight. I'm not saying this is good or bad or anything. I'm just saying the Village People was not. They play
music fake. That's dude. And there was a bit that I wanted to do it about like we give rappers all this shit for like not living their raps, and it's like all music is a lie.
Yeah, like everybody criticized Drake. Who cares if you like the music?
Fuck Drake. We criticize like they're like, yo, Tupac wasn't really a thug. He was a ballerina. It's like, yeah. None of them are real, but no musician's real. The only real musicians are country music stars, right? Because
who aren't overly produced.
I love my porch. I love my dog. I love my car. And what is the one form of music that people uniformly hate? Country, because they're fucking truthful. They're just sitting there talking about their regular life, and they're like, you better get your dick sucked or you better murder somebody. And that could be rock and roll or that could be rap.
So, but let me ask you this: if art is lies, if comedy is lies. So everything I've told you in this podcast is the truth. And they're funny, some of these things.
Sure.
But I don't feel like I don't use them in my stand-up because...
It's because your life is a lie.
Your
life
truth is
shouldn't be real.
Right, it's too unbelievable.
Yeah, but that's why you don't need to make it more unbelievable. That's why you don't need to do anything else to it. Like, how many people make $1 million? Very few. How many people do that 4 times and lose it 4 times? That is a joke.
Right.
Your life is a joke. What is the first thing that I said to you?
I
said, you're the worst Jew
I've
I've ever met. That
Right.
should be the opening line. Like, you should be excommunicated from like Israel for making millions 4 times and losing it.
All right,
That's for goys.
I will start
That's what Scottish people do, right? This is for us.
I will start that tonight that way. I will use that line.
If you need to address that, be like, listen, my people have a big problem with this. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason I had to take money from Osama bin Laden.
It's true. So That's the thing. Everything's true. Nobody. I think people they start hearing these stories and
You
their
could be
mouths
one
just
of
hang
these-
open.
What did
All right, like here's one thing I've tried to turn into a bit.
Yeah.
And it's not like how I see your show Inside Jokes is brilliant. You take these third rail topics, you try to work, as you put it, work the funny into them. So a few years ago, I was having some issues. I threw out everything I owned.
Yeah.
Everything, all my belongings,
Yeah.
except for what I had in a carry-on bag, like a couple T-shirts and pants. And I stopped renting and owning. I didn't rent an apartment or own a place or anything. And I just lived out of Airbnbs for about 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And I never would. My discipline was my carry-on bag had to go with me. So I left no existence of myself in any place that I slept, even during the day, even if I was sleeping at night.
Yeah.
And I couldn't buy anything new unless I threw something out of the bag.
Setup is already really long.
Right, that's the problem.
Right.
And that even though the setup's long,
Yeah. I don't have a home.
It's literally Spielberg
That's it.
called
I
up
just-
about this story and wanted to do
because
something.
that's not comedy. He's doing movies.
Right.
You live
I
a
was like
great.
Schindler's List.
You have tons of. What's that?
I was like his new Schindler's List.
Oh, I was about to say. You were on Schindler's List. How fucking old are
No.
you? Okay, so what I'm saying is the start of that joke is I don't have a home.
Yeah, but now I do.
Well, there was a time in my life I don't have a home. You don't have to be accurate in
Right,
every
right,
single bit.
right.
You know what I mean? Like there are guys that have a girlfriend in a joke, and because when they wrote the joke, they have a girlfriend.
Right,
that
right.
kind of shit. But like I don't have a home. That's it. And they're like, what? I'm. You know how you're like? It's surprising that you don't understand premises because all of your blog titles are premises. You have great titling.
Yeah, everybody tells me
I want
the
my
titles-
daughters to be lesbians, right?
Yeah.
Like you say that, you're like, ooh, that's good. I lost $2 million, or I made Yasser Arafat lose $2 million, but I lost $100 million. Stay that. What is important that you get across immediately? Because when people see you, they think that you're like an out of work scientist, right, or like a substitute teacher.
Yeah,
right?
well, when I go on CNBC, people say, "Why do they always let that homeless guy on CNBC?"
Yeah, but you don't look homeless. You look like a scientist that got fired, right? You look like a fired scientist, right?
All right, I'll go with
so
that.
like, they don't know that you're a guy who made all this money in business and tech, blah 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 blah. That needs to be the first thing that they understand about you. And you're so worried about bragging about making all this money, you lost it.
Yeah.
You can brag about shit that you lost.
You think people won't be sympathetic?
Yes, they will. Look at all these rappers that lost. What is the basketball players that lost $40 million? There was a
Allen Iverson?
Spreewell, Iverson, all these motherfuckers that went broke. There was a whole thing about being broke. We love hearing them. No, but we love when people lose all their money. Nothing is more exciting to us.
So I could just start.
Lose your money.
So I could just start.
Guys, I've made $20 million in my career, okay? I've lost $21 million in my career.
Right.
Love it. Tell me. You're not better than me. Matter of fact, I'm 1 million better than you. If I'm broke, I'm 1 million richer than you.
Right. And by the way, I don't know how do weave in like Yasser Arafat bin Laden.
These are different stories. All I'm trying to say is you start like I hope my daughters are lesbians. That's a funny line just in and of itself. Why? Why is it?
It's against the societal. No, I got a lot of hate mails on that one.
Right.
Anything I get a lot of hate mails, I know is going to be good.
Right, but why do you like them being lesbians?
Because you and I know
You don't want them
men-
to suck cocks?
And also, men,
Freddie Mercury?
men at the age from age like 20 to 30, men are just I don't want my 20 to 30-year-old daughters going out with 20 to 30-year-old men.
Right. You would rather them go out with 20 to 30-year-old women.
Yeah,
Right, because you assume
women are
that
great.
they'd be way better to your daughter.
Right.
Right.
Women are great. They talk things out.
Right. But domestic violence is way higher in lesbian couples.
I did not know that.
Yeah. That being said, they might
Does
not
anyone
be
get hurt?
strong enough to. Now we're talking Taylor. Anyway, guys, how great has Taylor been today? So boom. So there's funny in that already, but like that's an interesting take, right? That's an interesting take. You should go through every one of your blog titles.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote down a few that were like salacious that I thought were quite interesting, but they all look like, for me, they seem like jokes. Like even your, like where are we right here? I mean, like I don't go to weddings. I don't believe in weddings either. No, I believe in going to them either. Why don't you go? Never go to weddings. That's a funny line.
Yeah.
You know, half the audience has been waiting their whole life for their wedding.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the audience has been trying their whole life to avoid a wedding.
And
that is a really great bit of tension that you get to work with.
And the worst is destination weddings. Like everyone, you can relate a little bit to not wanting to go to a destination
Well, why don't
wedding.
you want to go to weddings? Or why don't you go to weddings?
Just, it's such a waste of time and it's so boring and the food's horrible and you sit next to people you don't like and the couple has a 50% chance of getting divorced anyway. So I just wasted my whole day.
Yeah.
I had to buy a suit, which I didn't have.
Yep.
I still have to think of like a gift for various weddings that I've
Right.
been to. And by the time I give the gift, they might already be divorced.
Yeah.
And if it was a destination wedding, I had to travel. Here's where I bring it. I talk about a destination wedding in Buffalo, and I say I got rich, so I never would have to go to Buffalo again.
Yeah.
Now I have to go to a destination wedding there.
Yeah.
And then I bring that into like, why do they even have wedding
You
announcements?
just need more specifics for all these things.
Yeah,
That's all it
interesting.
is. I mean, like, this works great written, but like now with comedy, it's like it needs to be specifics. Do you know what I mean? Like your destination wedding. It's funny about the Buffalo one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But like, yeah, I think it's a really funny premise.
And then I go further and by saying I don't even like wedding announcements because it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Like so and so, Jessica went to Harvard, Bobby went to Yale.
Yeah.
The father's a judge. I want to see divorce announcements in the New York Times, and then I read those.
I hate weddings, to be honest with you. But
why do you hate them?
Well, there's a distinction. I don't go to poor people's weddings. That's like I'm very adamant about that.
Because the food.
Well, you're not mature enough to get married yet. Like you have to figure other things out in your life before you guys can get married.
Right.
Because if there's not an open bar, it's not worth it for me to go.
Right.
You're not ready for marriage.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like you have to be at a certain point in time in life where you're ready to start a family. You can't even start a wedding. Right?
So on this note, can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
First date after getting a divorce or getting separated, after on the very first date, I hadn't dated in 10 years, so I didn't know what the New York scene was like. Dated this woman, and first thing she says is, "How much are you worth? Like, how much is in your bank account?"
Right.
And I told her,
with you is a reasonable question. With most people, I would say no, but with you, very
she
reasonable.
Didn't know that. She didn't know that.
She didn't know who you were.
No.
You think this girl didn't do her research?
Well, maybe.
100% did her research. She wants to know if she got you on to come up or to come down.
And she literally said, "That's not enough. We can't be in a relationship."
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I think I lied, and I said 1 million. Because I was broke then,
right?
So,
well, she knows that you've lost $1 million before.
Yes.
So you need to have more than you've lost. This is a savvy woman. I know you're married and happily married now, but you might have missed out on your blessing. You're willing to go broke with this guy. You know what I mean? Like that girl was making sure that you weren't going to get broke.
I don't know, but she knows I can make it back.
Do you monitor his money at all? A little bit, like if he's doing wild spending, like buying into comedy clubs.
She wants to know how Steve's buying all the T-shirts.
Good. You need to. I think you should. I think that's like an important, right? Like you can be compulsive.
This is family counseling. It's the Brilliant Idiots.
100%.
And it's family counseling.
Absolutely. Now, have you gone broke since you guys have been married?
No.
So you're the lucky one.
Yeah, now I think I've hopefully I have to always knock on wood because I'm superstitious.
Maybe we could just blame it on all your past wives.
We could, but I take extreme ownership.
Do you?
Yeah,
you have to.
Everything's my fault. If the room dies while you're doing comedy, you can't blame the crowd.
Yeah, but sometimes.
But even when they heckle, right, you can take control. Even when they're silent, you
should
can
never
do
blame.
things.
You should never blame because you never get better. Personal accountability for it. That's the only way you'll improve.
Yeah.
If we're being objective, yes, sometimes things happen that are out of your control. The fucking lights go out.
Yeah, you can't serve barbecue to sushi also. Like if their audience is totally different. But there's still things you can do with that audience even if you don't like delivering sushi.
The right way to do it is absolutely take personal accountability for everything. You don't go to doctors. Why not?
Just haven't been
you talked about that?
Haven't been sick. So do you go to doctors?
Dude, this is so funny. I think that you're lying about being Jewish. I truly think you're lying about it. I think maybe, I don't know why.
Look at me.
Yeah, I
can I
understand
be
you have
anything
the
other
look.
than Jewish?
I understand you have the look, but like maybe you're leaning into the look. You know, you've got the Jew fro, but like maybe you curl it every morning. I'm starting to believe you're not Jewish. You have no fear whatsoever.
Well,
You have to
somebody-
understand, I grew up in Manhattan, New York City. Like
Right.
90% of my friends were Jews. The idea of
And you have the
not
last name
going to a
Schulz,
doctor,
so you could.
they all thought I was Jewish.
Right.
Yeah, and then they found out I was. I stopped getting invited to bar mitzvahs.
There you go. You
Yeah.
win in that.
I
You're-
win.
Right.
That's the first wedding.
Right. Oh,
That's
yeah.
when you get married to
maybe
Judaism.
That's the reason. Maybe that's the reason I decided to go broke. Is
That's
that
the reason why you
everyone-
grew the fro, so that yarmulke will fall off.
Right, or I go broke, so I stop getting invited to bar mitzvahs.
Ah!
People did stop inviting me to bar mitzvahs.
Well, yeah, what are
I
you
would
gonna
even,
give?
I would even get insulted. I would call a friend of mine. I said, I noticed your 13-year-old had a bar mitzvah. Everybody was there except me. Why didn't you invite me?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, it was just close. No, but I see the guy we all used to work with that we were
Yeah.
all sitting together. I'm like, no, it was just he snuck in. Like, they always had some reason, but I stopped getting invited to bar mitzvahs.
Wow.
So, which
Well,
is
that's
fine.
the good
that
thing.
was fine.
Yeah. That's a great part. That's a funny bit in and of itself. Like the good things about going broke.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
you stop getting invited to. Like what a great fun spin. Nobody thinks about the good. Like Bill Burr has this amazing bit about obesity. He's like, nobody talks about how much fun it was to get fat. Like we all feel bad for them when they're fat, but like the idea that like
That's
you
a good
get to
take.
eat whatever you want. So what is the best part about losing
Yeah,
millions?
That's a good take. There's not that many good parts.
You got to find some. That's the funny. Your fake friends are gone.
Yeah, your fake
You don't
friends-
got to go to weddings. You don't got to go to bar mitzvahs.
You get a divorce for free, basically.
Ooh,
So you don't need a prenup if you're
you
going to go
time
broke
those
every time.
divorces well. That's right.
Exactly. Well, it kind of happens naturally at those points.
Oh, they realize that.
So-
Oh, I don't like him now that he's not a millionaire.
What are other?
Do they just stop becoming sexually attracted to you? Like, do you notice it happen in real time? Like
No,
they're
it's
just
not.
drying
It's-
up as
it's-
your wealth is?
It's not. It's not that explicit, but bad things happen.
Now, like the amount of blowjobs that you got before, like when you were worth millions, and then when you start to be worth nothing, do you notice that? She's like, I don't really feel like blowing this 100,000 hair.
I don't know that, but I'll tell you this: that as you have money, definitely more women stop you on the street.
Stop you on the street?
Yeah, because they know you, and
They
they're
know
like,
of you.
Hey, we met like 3 years ago. Let's grab coffee. So
Really?
yeah, that happens a lot.
So they could tell.
Yeah. Well, and I once asked my dad about this, and he said something which I agreed with then, but now I disagree with. He says women don't like you because you have money. They like you because you're the kind of guy who can make a lot of money. So he tried to alphaize it in a different way. And I don't necessarily, I think it's some
You like a
combination
skill
of the
of
two.
mine, not the amount of money I have. That's
right,
smart.
exactly. So that's how he was trying to convince me not to major in sociology and major in like computer science or something. What about as a twist, hashtag rich people problems? Is that too unrelatable? Is that like, oh, the audience doesn't care?
Who gives a fuck if they care or not? Make them care.
All right.
Like if I gave you the set list to the tour I'm doing right now, and I gave you the take that I was going to have on each one of those jokes, nobody would walk in that door. They'd be
Right.
like, "What horrifying shit am I about to witness?"
So I
Are
think-
you fucking kidding me?
I think though the skill that you have there is
but when they
not
walk
only
out, right, it's like, oh shit. That's why don't worry about what they like. You'll find the way to make them like. You're not doing it for what they like. You're doing the shit that's funny for you, and then you'll alienate the people that don't like you, and you'll gravitate the people that do.
Right.
Don't ever do it for them.
right. But I think let's
Don't
say,
appease the investors or
so
whatever.
Let's say no matter what, all things being equal, the jokes are equally funny, whatever.
Yes.
The delivery is key when you're taking that risk with the audience. You have to really
The
commit.
delivery's easy when you believe in it.
Yes, you have to really
Believe
commit.
in the bit,
Right.
and that's natural. If you truly believe in what you're saying, it's natural. If you don't, then they'll fucking see it. And it might be exciting the first 4 or 5 times you tell the joke, but then when you lose that excitement, it will seem phony. And
That's
you'll be
what-
like telling
So-
a bit that you don't believe in. It'll come across.
So I've seen that happen. Like I had so we've recently gotten married. And now we
Yeah.
have 5 kids and a dog, and people say it's like the Brady Bunch. And I had a
Right.
joke off of that was really doing well, like the first 10 times.
And then
But
once you lost the excitement, it died.
yeah, and now I don't tell it
you
anymore.
didn't believe in it. You were just excited about it, and you were able to sell the joke on your enthusiasm. And
Yeah.
comedy's energy exchange at the end of the day. So you had excess energy that you were giving them.
Right. So it's that enthusiasm. Like you bring a lot to each word.
Yeah, that's why
And
sociopaths succeed in comedy, because there's a lot of fucking sociopaths that can have fake energy about bits that they don't believe in.
Well, and I think
Same in business.
I mean, you look at like Dave Chappelle brings energy to every single word. If you just see him talking normally, he sounds completely different than.
But he's also at a
stage.
point where he's so in tune with how he feels and like what he finds funny that the energy in each joke is organic and real. He is so plugged into what his funny is and what he wants to talk about that you believe everything that he's saying, and that's why he can take you on this like winding journey, right? That ends in a place you never thought, is because everything he says has importance and is believable. Like these guys that tell the one-liner jokes, like Jeselnik, you know that's not real. You're just waiting for the switch.
Right.
With Chappelle, every minute of that bit leading up to the switch is also real and funny.
Right.
So he's operating on two levels. It's not just like, all right, wait, I'm waiting for you to get me. It's, I didn't even think you were trying to get me. I was enjoying the journey. And I still get a switch?
Right.
It's elite, man. That's elite. But I think you just need to go over your blog titles and go over every single one of them and just tell those jokes. You don't have to tell jokes. Just talk about it. Why do you hate weddings? Just be passionate about it. I don't want to go to Buffalo, ever. You know, you getting married to somebody does not make me want to go to Buffalo.
Right, but see, even just the way you say that is funny.
That's how I would say it.
Ever.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to weddings ever.
Yeah. So you need to, but whatever way you would say it is that. I'm not sure, you know, but like, what is Buffalo? You know, Buffalo is like a business idea you have. You know, it's like great in theory, but we're all going to be ass out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Buffalo.
I see. That's where you have like these odd metrics that you tie together.
Yeah. You also have a weird situation where like if people knew a lot more about you, you could have a lot more liberty talking about these things.
When I was in Houston a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I did 90 minutes of my stuff because it was it was 300 people who knew me.
There it is.
So
it's easy. You're just telling stories. You're having fun. So you need to find a way to like make that fun for people who don't know you at all. There's a one-man show in you as well.
Yeah,
I think the one-man show is
that.
about like going broke and getting rich 5 times.
I do a lot of public speaking, which is almost like that.
Yeah.
But I just the skills of stand-up are what I've been.
What you do is you
the path I've
sharpen the
been on.
sword doing clubs, and then you take those bits that are sharpened to random people, and you fit them into the one-man show.
Yeah.
And now you have something that's, you know, it's super strong. It's like it's unbelievable. But that's what you use the stand-up for. You use the show, unless you have like another goal with this outside of stand-up.
No, I have no. I literally just do this to do it. I have no goals with it.
Because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the first time I have like 0 goals with something I'm doing.
Dude, it's great. That's how I am with kickboxing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
are you like do you kickbox every day?
No, but like I don't care about the belts or anything. Like they give me these stripes and shit, and I'm like, this is not about. I just want to get better at this for me.
Yeah, it's a great feeling because then you can focus on skill acquisition, and you don't need to say, well, where am I in the hierarchy, in the tribe? Because every subculture's got a tribe.
Yeah.
It's got a hierarchy. But if you could take yourself out of that, you can enjoy it much more, and you can learn much faster.
And I like being lower in the tribe. I like walking into a place and just being like, how can I learn from you guys? And asking questions. And like, just I love the humility that it brings. And, you know, it's just not going to a place going, I have to do well this so I can make money so I can afford to pay my employees, I can afford to pay my rent, I can take care of my family, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's nice having it. Fucking James, man, what a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. Am I an adequate replacement for Charlemagne? I know that's he's been on my podcast too. It's a big shoes to fill.
Charlemagne does this podcast with me?
All right, I'm coming back tomorrow. We'll do another episode too.
Listen, I really appreciate you being on here. You have your own podcast, the James Altucher Show.
Yes,
Altucher.
which you've been,
which I've been on. Charlemagne's been on. Many great guests have been on. I implore you guys who are listening right now to go check it out. I think it's really brilliant. I think you're a brilliant and fascinating guy. And I'm curious to see what happens with the stand-up journey. Obviously, I consider you a buddy, and I'm here as a resource for you, whatever you need for stand-up.
Believe me, I take advantage of that.
Please do. Please do. But yeah, so go check it out. Also, you have these great blogs. I really mean that. Like, they are short. You write like a machine gun. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, you don't do these long paragraphs. It's like sentence-long paragraphs. Bullet, 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 bullet. And it's so great for like reading something on the go or reading something quick. It's almost like you were writing a story in tweets.
Because I write for my attention span.
Yeah, but it's effective for all of us.
If someone writes a big paragraph, I'm out of the book. I will drop the book down.
Yeah. So think about that. I think that's an interesting way you think about stand-up. Like, that is effective in your writing, right?
Yeah.
Then boom, maybe you're doing that on stage. Who knows? But I think you're fucking great, man. I'd love to have you back, and thank you so much for filling in for Charla.
Well, thanks for having me on the
absolutely.
podcast. You'll have to come back on mine.
Anytime. Tell any places you want to check them out. Obviously, Stand Up New York.
Yeah,
You're there
Stand
all
Up New
the
York
time.
is the club, but I perform at different clubs. That's the one that I partially own. And the James Altucher Show is my podcast. That's it.
Go check out his stuff, man. I honestly, do it. Buy a bunch of his books and make him send you a check to get your money back. I think that'd
99
be
cents
fun.
each one.
Yeah,
Some
just
of
put
them are
his
free.
kids to work. Now you got more kids, so more of them can do shit.
5 altogether can make a good assembly line.
Absolutely, and hopefully, we taught people how to make money and lose money on this podcast.
Yeah, definitely lose money. We talked
Definitely.
about-
Thank you so much, man. Be good. This episode has been brought to you by Ben and Jerry's. Okay, when I sit down to binge my favorite TV shows or catch the newest episode of a podcast that I'm listening to, a film, I was just watching Dark. Netflix got a new show called Dark. I'm sitting down there with a pint of that oatmeal cookie chunk or that chocolate fudge brownie. Now I got to peep this half baked that you're talking so highly about, Dwayne.
Oh, yeah.
But the point is, it's Ben and Jerry's. Simple as that. I'm sitting down there, getting my Ben and Jerry's, and I'm getting the mood set. All right. That's my Netflix and chill. The chill is the ice cream. Okay? I like to create the chill with that ice cream. Cool it down. It's summer. Give me that Ben & Jerry's oatmeal cookie chunk. Go get it. benandjerry.com. Again, that's benandjerry.com. benjerry.com. Cozy up with your favorite flavor. They're available anywhere ice cream is sold. Or to find a new flavor, benandjerry.com. Thanks again for listening. Peace.